Alrighty, welcome everyone back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having a great Tuesday so far. Let's see what we have in the chat here. We have Lake House, we have Caden, Kaylee, as well as Cody, Powell, Proxy, King Bob. Let's see, Northeast Weather, and everyone else who's in the chat who I may have forgotten to welcome, or if you're just now tuning in, glad to have you here. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Tuesday. And Green California, welcome in here. Weather Warrior as well, welcome in here. Glad to see you all in here once again. Let's switch on over to our main scene. Looking good. I think good enough, as good as we're going to get, right? Well, we'll take it. So yeah, we've got a big day for severe weather ahead of us out here in Oklahoma and Arkansas, under the gun for the biggest tornado threat that this area has seen ever since late May. So a pretty notable severe weather threat that will likely be underway over here in eastern Oklahoma into Arkansas as we go into just after the 4 o'clock time frame. So really, we got the next 40 minutes of not much activity. Storms just starting to fire up. We'll discuss some model data, go over the meso analysis, satellite, all the good stuff, everything we normally go over for these upper echelon risk days. We do have only one severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now. Now, the good news is here, you'll notice that we do have a lot of convection out here in the eastern portion of our risk area. This was a little bit not forecasted here. We were expecting some convection, and if any, it would actually have been more supercell convection, less of this messy cluster. So we're going to watch these kind of lead storms here in front of this more messy complex that is attempting to organize here in northern Arkansas and southern Missouri. So we'll keep an eye on this as it moves off to the east, but do not think that, just because this is rolling through, today's not going to be any tornado threat or any severe weather threat. The main threat is going to be further off to the west. This is our main region where we have instability right now. Right in this area here is where we have that really good moist atmosphere, really favorable environment for all hazards, and especially as you get into this quadrant down in here, very, very favorable environment right in here, southwest side of that enhanced risk, into the slight risk area. And this environment will pull a little bit more north, especially what I circled in pink. That most favorable environment should pull a little bit more off to the northeast. As our low pressure gets closer, it pulls that stuff off a little bit more to the north, maybe even a little bit northwest as well. So definitely under the gun for a severe weather threat today across eastern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas. Make sure you have that tornado preparedness plan ready to go. Make sure you go over that with your family and anyone who's around your area. Even if your neighbors may not may not know about today's threat, it doesn't hurt just to make sure they know, hey, we're under the gun for some tornadoes today. Just make sure you're staying next to that TV, next to your phone. Make sure your phone's charged. Just make sure that you are doing everything you can before these warnings start coming out here. So as expected, we did get a categorical risk upgrade to an enhanced risk for a 10 significant tornado risk out there on the border of Oklahoma and Arkansas. This did not come with a wind upgrade. A little surprised about that, but we kind of lost confidence a bit in that wind threat being more substantial than a slight risk. Could still be upgraded to a 30% here in about 30-40 minutes or so. But that enhanced risk is at the moment strictly for strong tornadoes. That hail threat, we woke up to I was up at about 6 a.m. and I woke up to the 15 hatched hail risk. So we actually had a 15 hatched hail risk out there, but they ultimately decided to drop that when some models started to back off on that supercell mode and went more of a linear mess earlier this morning. So definitely want to keep an eye on the hail threat, wind threat, and especially that tornado threat. Primary threat today is for sure definitely tornadoes. Tornadoes leads in probability for the biggest hazard for today, followed by damaging winds, and then last place would be your hail threat. So all hazards on table today, all hazards significant, strong tornadoes, 70, 80 mile an hour winds, 2.5 inch hail, all being a possibility if you live in that enhanced risk, and even in portions of that slight risk area for today. Outside of that, we do have the risk for some isolated damaging gusts out here in the mid-Atlantic areas. That goes from south central Virginia, just barely north of where I am here in Martinsville. That goes all the way back up here into Scranton, Pennsylvania, and on the border of New York and New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So pretty large marginal there just for some isolated damaging wind gusts. A brief tornado can't be completely ruled out somewhere in that marginal risk area, but the tornado threat is very low. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the background of our environment out here in Oklahoma and Arkansas. But before I do that, I do want to switch on over to, let's see if I can get this loaded, the SPC just quickly here for this mesoscale discussion. We do have a mesoscale discussion for peak, my goodness, can't English. Most probable peak intensity is actually a intense tornado being a possibility. 120 to 150 mile per hour winds. An EF3, I believe, is somewhere around like 130-ish plus miles per hour. I forgot the exact miles per hour of an EF3. But the peak probable intensity does hit the potential for intense, which is considered EF3 tornadoes or greater, being a possibility today. That hail threat, 1.5 to 2.5 inch in diameter. And you can see they did indeed back off on that wind threat a little bit there, 55 to 70 miles an hour. So the SPC doesn't really believe 80 mile an hour winds will be much of a possibility, but we could still see that isolated gust as high as 75 to 80 miles per hour. So if you're in that purple area, you're going to be put under some sort of watch here in the next 30 minutes or so. The northern side of this purple area, generally in this vicinity here, y'all will be put under a tornado watch. Most likely that northern side will be put under a tornado watch, and then that southern end will be put under a severe thunderstorm watch. They're probably going to split that up into two different watches. Tornado watch where the wind shear is greater near the low, and then a severe watch further from the low, closer to just the boundary there, rather the border of Texas and Oklahoma. That greatest tornado threat you can see they have in the hatched risk there, that black hatched area, and you can see that outflow boundary setting up right in this area, thanks to that convection that we have ongoing right now across northern Arkansas. And again, this boundary is going to be either stationary or it may pull a little bit more north. I don't think it's going to be sagging any more to the south here with this thunderstorm activity. It's probably about stalled out, if not maybe pushing a little bit more north than what it is, according to this mesoscale discussion, which was issued about close to an hour ago at this point. Yep, very close to an hour ago. This was issued at 2:31 Eastern. It is 3:24 p.m. Eastern. So just barely under an hour ago that MCD was issued. Let's go back over here. You see me getting in on that tornado watch action? Yep, I do, Kaylee. I definitely do. I think you will be well inside of that tornado watch. Are you in the enhanced or are you just north of the enhanced? I feel like you might just be barely north of that enhanced risk area. But yeah, I do think you'll be put in the tornado watch. All right, so this is our meso analysis here. Very, very, very easy to spot low pressure here. Now, it's not a strong low pressure, but it is a very easy to spot low. You've got pretty strong southerly and easterly winds here, strong northerly, northwesterlies here, and strong west to southwesterlies down here, and strong southerlies right in here. So that indicates an area of low pressure right in here, an area of spin just like this in this region. And you'll see, look at this, look at the change here. You can see you've got southerly winds coming out from, Louisiana going up towards Arkansas. And then once you get to northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, those winds change into southeasterlies and easterly wind speeds. So what that indicates is there is a sort of a boundary in here. And of course, we know that boundary is going to be a warm front slash outflow boundary as well. And that's located right in this vicinity is where that outflow boundary is. But you do have a warm front also attached to that outflow boundary that also goes back up into like this area here. So you've got a warm front slash outflow boundary in this area. And that's very clearly depicted by those southerly winds turning to the southeasterly and easterly directions there, or coming out of the easterly and southeasterly direction. Supercell composite here, very favorable atmosphere according to mesoanalysis. This was 19Z, so just a couple minutes ago. I feel like I might have... Hold on. Okay, no, never mind. For a split second, I thought I might have said the wrong time, but no, that is 19Z. There we go. All right, so yeah, we're watching, if you're in that 8 plus supercell composite, that's where the environment is most favorable for tornadoes according to this parameter here. And you can see, my goodness, that overlaps almost perfectly. Almost perfectly overlaps that 12 contour there. Almost perfectly overlaps with the SPC's enhanced risk area. And by the time we go into the next hour, that's probably going to shift a little bit off to the east there. So very, very good outlook there from the SPC, denoting that highest probability for tornadoes. And you can see pretty good environment here. Now, this particular photograph, not a lot of lower level backing there, at least from what I could tell on that photograph there. Let's see if that's the same. Yeah, something going off with the lower level winds there. Maybe not a lot of lower level wind shear in northwestern Arkansas. Ooh, that's a bit better, though. That's closer to the outflow boundary there. Much better lower level curvature there, denoted by the pink right there. Better lower level curvature than going into your middle level and upper level. Pretty good curvature there. So if you don't know what a hodograph is, basically it's just measuring kind of the winds in the atmosphere. So when you have good hodographs like what you're looking at now, you can kind of envision it almost like a supercell. So you can kind of get an idea that supercells and storms, if they're discrete, are probably going to look something like this, which is going to end up being your classic supercell shape. So really, really good hodograph there. But you see that little pink right there at the 10 mark, how that kind of changes directions there. That kind of, that's not really perfect. You really like to see that pink kind of curl around like that. That would be the ideal hodograph, is much better lower level backing there. Not the best wind shear. Let's see if it's lacking. Yeah, definitely lacking there in the 0 to 1 kilometer. Really good in the 0 to 3. That's why you have that really good mid-level hodograph, that red you saw. But once you get towards the end of that pink, that's when you kind of lack in that lower level wind shear. Only about 112 0 to 1 kilometer SRH there, which is not great. It's not horrible, but it's not great. It's not considered favorable for strong tornadoes. Typically, we look for 150 plus for strong tornadoes, so that technically isn't considered favorable for strong tornadoes at the moment. But you can see if you just go a little bit more to the northwest, we might find that is going into the cool pooled area there. So this might be a little bit better. Yeah, 179 0 to 1 kilometer SRH there. So slightly better, but still you could see that mid-level backing and mid-level curvature there is really good. And then in this case, the lower levels just really, it doesn't turn much there. Like I said, you really want to see that curve around like this, and the pink just goes a different direction there. So not the best amount there in terms of how strong your wind speeds are, especially closer to the surface. So We'll see if that ends up being an issue, but we do have that outflow boundary, which will help aid in tornado genesis, so that will help with that little lack of lower level wind shear there. Yeah, and then there is your instability, up to 5,000 surface-based instability out there, very close to your low pressure in eastern Oklahoma. Really high-end amount of instability, especially for the location of this cape and how far south it is and what time of year it is. It is September 23rd here. We got 5,100 uncapped cape in eastern Oklahoma. Not something you see often in September. This time of year, this is more like a late March setup. I would be saying maybe even more of an early March. Yeah, this kind of gives off sometime in March. That's what this gives off. Sometime in March type vibes right here, where you have this far south of good instability and not the best wind shear. Now closer to May, May would have better wind shear than just this 100 0 to 1 kilometer SRH, which is why I didn't say May, but definitely, to me, gives off more of March vibes there. March going into April. Really good lower level lapse rates in eastern Oklahoma, south of those storms firing. So that's why we're seeing a little bit of struggle there with these storms. They look very meh, very messy, very not so organized. And that's because of your change with temperature with height. You could see there's not a lot of change with temperature, right? It's kind of like just a perfect line going up with height. You like to see that change with height. If we go in like southwestern Oklahoma or south central, look at that big change. Too much change with height now. Too much change with temperature with height. That's a very elevated profile. Let's see what your dew points are there. 9373. That's a very elevated profile. We'd like to see kind of, in this instance, the perfect would be about 73 dews, 83 temps. So definitely more elevated profile with southward extent there. Oh my goodness, 81 and 81 up here in Tulsa. Yikes. 81 in Tulsa right there. That is a crazy sign. Very crazy sight to see right there. In September. 81 dews and 81 temps. Joplin, Missouri is not very favorable right now. So you guys just had a lot of rain pull through. And that's allowed for a very large pocket of stable air. Very stable air. Something thunderstorms cannot thrive in whatsoever. So that's very, very good news for y'all out there in southwestern Missouri. Now, as we go about 4 or 5 hours in the future, as that cold front comes through, that instability could get a bit more favorable, closer to maybe 7 p.m. Central Time, 6, 7 Central, about 3, 4 hours from now. That would be your best chance for any severe weather. Once that cold front comes pushing through here, let's see if the HRRR shows that at all. Yeah, this is 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. That shows the chance for some isolated strong to severe storms out there near Joplin. So just keep that in mind. Just keep an eye on that. Not the best chance for tornadoes out there in Joplin. Your main threat would be 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1-inch hail. And a brief tornado can't be completely ruled out. Lucy, welcome to the stream. I apologize. I did see your comment up there. You talked about rain or something for St. Louis near your area. Yeah, you're going to be getting a lot of storms here very soon, if not. Yeah, your first wave just passed through. And you'll be getting another wave of heavy rain here in about an hour or so. And I don't think you'll be under the risk for any severe weather. The best chance for any severe storms will be about 9 o'clock your time. 9, 10 o'clock your time. That would be as your cold front pulls through. Moving obviously off to the east, southeast there. So that would be your best opportunity for any severe weather. And even if you do get something severe, max is like 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's like the worst case scenario for you out there. Very interested to see how this unfolds. A lot of uncertainty on severe storms south of like McAllister in Oklahoma. A lot of uncertainty on what may happen out in this region here. A lot of uncertainty. So we'll monitor that area too. But the main area for severe storms today definitely focused across this region right up in here. Definitely the main area for severe weather today. Stretching from Tulsa, pointing east all the way until just north of Little Rock, staying barely south of southern Missouri there. That's really where I'm expecting our main bulk of severe weather today. And that's also what the SPC is expecting too with that enhanced risk there. So the main bust mode, a lot of you guys like to talk about bust modes here, just to see if we have any big issues in the forecast. And it's definitely over convection. Over convection is a huge one. Morning convection, which was quite the issue, and now going into the afternoon still is quite the issue. But also over convection. Too many storms firing, too linear of a mode, too many supercells, which will promote more congealing up into a line. Too much thunderstorms. That's a big bust factor for today. In order for us to see strong tornadoes or intense tornadoes, we're definitely going to have to see those more discrete supercells taking full advantage of that environment on the border there of Oklahoma and Arkansas. Tomorrow could be a pretty widespread severe day, but I think it downtrended overall compared to yesterday on the northern portion. Let me see. Yeah, I looked at that last night, and it actually looked pretty good for severe weather in Kentucky. Ew. Yeah, it trended very messy. Very messy for tomorrow. I still wouldn't rule out... Let's go over to the SPC Outlook here. They just updated this. They didn't include a 2% tornado risk, but if there is any chance of a tornado tomorrow, I would definitely put that in central Kentucky. I think that area is the best chance for tornadoes tomorrow. But really, I mean, there's a low-end environment favorable for a spin-up tornado in this entire area for tomorrow. But that best environment is probably central Kentucky for tomorrow. But it's still low end. We may see a 2% tornado risk issued, but it's a very low end environment. Really just going to be a lot of sloppy, messy, isolated severe storms, and then one of those will have the chance to drop a brief weak tornado. Main threat overall tomorrow, though, by far damaging winds up to 60 miles an hour. Big old marginal there from Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Northern Virginia, all the way down to the Gulf coastline there in southern Texas. No tornado watches as of yet. Let's see. Easily could have gotten one and I wasn't paying attention. Yep, I don't see one. I do not see one. Then day 3, Thursday, we have a huge marginal for severe weather. SPC just updated this risk. Looks like minimal to no change with this new outlook here. There is the potential for a categorical risk upgrade to a slight risk across the Carolinas and Virginia. However, uncertainty on thunderstorms actually firing in a more favorable environment has led them to not upgrade to a slight risk just yet for Thursday. But we will probably see a slight risk somewhere in this area. The two areas I'm watching is definitely what I just said. Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. And then also back up into like eastern New York, eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. Those are the two areas I'm watching the most going into Thursday's risk, up here and then down in here. And there will be the risk for a brief spin-up tornado, same as tomorrow's risk, but nothing notable. Nothing like what we are anticipating today. Today is, by a milestone, the highest tornado threat for the next couple of days. Yeah, it's probably going to be a 60-40 tornado watch. That's what I'm anticipating. I'm thinking 60-40 tornado watch. And SBC did say that the watches would likely be issued just before 4 p.m. Eastern, just before 20Z. So we really should get that in the next 20 minutes or so. We'll also get an SPC outlook update here in 20 minutes. So we should get a tornado watch, and probably a tornado watch and a severe watch, as well as the SPC update here in about 20 minutes or so. Sulphur, Oklahoma, going to be all right. Let's see. I think Sulphur is like... How far west is Sulphur? I feel like it's somewhere in here. It's been yeah, there it is. Haha. I still remember my state of Oklahoma. Look at that. Still remember. You think it's going to be a 40-20 probability, Sam, on a 10 sig tour day? That's crazy, bro. That is crazy. That's like a 5% type day. I've even seen that watch on a 2% day. But yeah, you'll likely be all right. I keep an eye out for heavy rain, some isolated thunder. The best chance for severe storms look to be in about 2 hours from now. And if those do end up firing, definitely 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, very heavy rain, frequent lightning will be possible. I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado, but that tornado risk is it falls off very fast. Once you go south of like right in here, that tornado risk falls off very, very quickly. It gets substantially less favorable. That 5% from the SPC, in my opinion, even that goes a little bit further south than what the environment is probably favorable for. We do not have a lot of shear that far south. Take a look at our SRH in the 0 to 3 kilometer, and you can see a very sharp cutoff between the favorability for wind shear / tornadoes. Very, very sharp cutoff there on the border of Arkansas and Oklahoma. And then 0 to 1 kilometer SRH as well. Not as sharp of a cutoff, but you could still see that's definitely not favorable going into southern Oklahoma and northern Texas. So I really don't expect much tornadic activity south of what did I say before? Yeah, south of McAllister and Wilburton. I really don't expect much tornadic activity south of there. You still have a chance if you're in that green and brown region, but I don't see much of a threat in my opinion. It's still something to keep an eye on, stay weather aware for. I just see it being much lower risk. Tulsa, Broken Arrow. Wind is the worst risk. Thank you for all your help. You're welcome, and thank you for tuning in. It looks like these storms are taking a little bit longer to fire, so the first round is probably about to already pass you, and then you'll still have the risk for isolated severe storms through about 8 p.m. Central Time. It's very isolated supercell development being possible for the next couple of days, my bad, hours. Next couple of hours. About the next 4 or 5 hours or so. This is really, these storms here are expected to be your isolated supercells and your greatest tornado threat. And you can see those right now are really staying on the southeast side of Tulsa, and any that are near Tulsa are very, very, very weak. So I don't think Tulsa will see the worst today. It will likely be just east of Tulsa on the Oklahoma-Arkansas border. You can see should get a lot worse out here. But this is for 5 p.m. Central Time, and it does have some isolated severe storms rolling through near Tulsa, so keep an eye out. Main risk is 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail, and further off to your east, that risk could be 2-inch hail, 70-mile-an-hour winds. So looks like the worst should stay to your east. But it is worth just keeping an eye on. Make sure your devices are charged, devices are turned up, just in case you get any of those watches or warnings, which we should get a watch pretty soon. Should get a watch pretty soon. That may include Tulsa or may not. If we take a look at the MCD from the SPC here, yeah, they have it like on the on the county line over here, splitting up Tulsa. So it's kind of like a 50-50 shot that you're included in that tornado watch or not. It should be out very soon. I'll keep refreshing my my page here. Hello, Caleb. Glad to see you're alive. Let's see. King Bob, they upgraded it to a 10 sig, and we know the curse of the 10 sig on this channel. Every time we have a 5% tornado risk that looks worthy of a 10 sig, we're like, yeah, this looks like it could be a pretty bad risk. Could be a couple strong tornadoes. And then day of, they upgrade it to 10 sig, and then all of a sudden everything downtrends. Or it doesn't downtrend, and it still looks rough, and then when storms fire, it ends up being messy and falls apart. I gotta leave school. Oh, okay. Yeah. For a second, I thought you were, I read that wrong in my head. For a second, I thought you were, talking about leaving for school. All right. See you in, I don't know how long it takes. An hour? 30 minutes? I don't know how far your house is from school. Let me go to... I think the environment is still very much favorable. It's all going to really come down to storm mode. So I don't really think today's downtrended much. We'll see when storms really get going and we're able to depict how messy the mode is. Right now it does look pretty messy, so that's good. But that may not continue. I can tell you this, if you are in like north central Arkansas, this is probably going to be a pretty severe first round out here. There will be more storms to come, so don't let your guard down after this first round. But this is a round that is kind of a little bit overperforming in terms of severe possibilities. So we'll continue to cover that. Keep an eye on it. But right now, main threat with that is 60 mile-an-hour winds, 1 to 1.5 inch hail, and can't rule out a brief tornado. But tornado risk is fairly on the lower end with this first round. As for satellite imagery here, bring you on over to satellite. This is College Dew page here. We'll turn on, let's see. There we go. That's the latest frame. You could see all these little bubblers going up right in this area. That's where our main supercell development is occurring. You can see that morning convection starting to become more severe in this area. And there is quite a bit of clearing. Out in this area. Definitely in between those breaks of CU fields there. So should continue to destabilize for at least the next hour or two until those storms really get going. Peak tornado threat, I'm thinking probably 5 to 8 Eastern. 5 to 8 Eastern is what I'm thinking for our peak tornado threat today. Maybe 5 to 9, but generally right around 5 to 8, 5 to 9. These storms should really start strengthening here over the next hour and a half, and yeah, these little guys, these are going to be the ones to watch. You can see a bit of an explosion there with one of our little storms here. In northeastern Oklahoma. I just thought of something. That town looks like something. Let me go over here. Yeah, we're also going to keep an eye on these AOIs here in the tropics. Still Category 4 Gabrielle. Still Category 4 Gabrielle out there in the Atlantic. Hurricane watches are up for these islands over here. hurricane watches are up. We're anticipating a close call, if not a landfall, from Hurricane Gabrielle out here. We're expecting a tropical storm out of this, high chance, 90% chance for tropical development, and I do think it still is going to make a run for hurricane status. And depending on its influence with this AOI here, it may make a run for major hurricane status. This is going to be definitely a lot of uncertainty here because these storms are going to be cutting very, very close to each other. Right now, what I think this is 93. Okay, which one's 93? Which one's 94? These were designated invest earlier this morning. Which one's which? All right, 94L is the one over the Lesser Antilles right now. So 94L is in here. 93L is back here. So 93L is the one that I think has the highest chance to become a hurricane. And 94L is the one that has the highest chance to impact the United States with tropical storm characteristics. So that is going to all come down to how they interact, because they're going to be very close to each other by the time we get towards, let's see, what is it? It's like Tuesday. So by the time we get to like Friday, these systems are going to be very, very close to each other, both trying to form into tropical storms, and that can create a very hostile environment for one or the other invest, or maybe they're going to be able to simultaneously become tropical storms and eventual maybe hurricanes. So a lot of uncertainty regarding this, but if you are going to the beach this upcoming weekend and going into early and even into mid next week, definitely want to watch both of these AOIs, as especially this one has the opportunity to go towards the Carolinas or even as far south as Florida and Georgia. So really, really watching this one closely. Let's see here. We're going to go to the Fort Smith radar site. Yeah, like I said, these storms' main threat just going to be 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind gust. Not really expecting much out of them. This is a little batch of supercells firing here. This could be a bit of a problem when all these combine, and if they combine into one discrete storm, definitely could become an issue. Definitely want to watch those clusters closely. And they are initiating right on the outflow boundary, too. The outflow boundary is like right in like this area here. Yeah. No, this is not a tornado outbreak now, but there is the possibility for a tornado outbreak once these storms really get going. 10 sig Tor is that's where you start talking about the potential for a tornado outbreak. But this is not a very large 10 significant tornado risk. It's not a really large one. It's it's relatively on the smaller side, but it's not in the top 10. It's not in the top 10 for the smallest enhanced risks for strong tornadoes. Did all that morning convection help stabilize it all? Very much helped. Very, very much helped. It stabilized this entire region in here. That entire area is very stable. But once our low pressure gets closer to Tulsa, it's going to pull that more favorable environment right up into that stable atmosphere and turn it more unstable. So yeah, that morning convection helped a lot. Yeah, it looks like these batches of storms here could end up being one of our main concerns today. Watching the SPC very closely here, because we should get an outlook in 6 minutes, and we should get at least a tornado watch, if not a tornado watch and a severe watch in the next 5 minutes. Any second, really. Curious if they're going to put a severe watch out for these storms here. Because these storms are not in a very favorable environment for tornadoes, but they are in the slight risk and enhanced risk for severe weather. So I wonder if they're going to issue a severe watch for these storms and then later on issue a tornado watch out here for the main round. We'll see. I mean, yesterday out there in Ohio, we had a huge line of severe storms, and we didn't even see a severe watch. So never know. They don't have an MCD out for these particular storms getting a watch. Yeah, the European ensemble mean for probability of tropical storm force wind speeds in southeastern NC, it's actually up to a 40%, 30 to 40%, which is the highest I've seen ever since July with our other tropical storm that hit South Carolina. So definitely the highest probabilities in a long time for the chance of a tropical system to impact the Carolinas. So thankfully there's a lot of time for that to change, though. A lot of uncertainty regarding it, but just if you're on the southeast U.S. coastline, anywhere from Virginia down to Florida, just keep a very close eye on these two areas of interest. So UTC is a worldwide, it's a worldwide time zone that you can use wherever you are to convert into your own time zone. So like 20, what we're at right now, we're at almost 20 UTC. It's also commonly known as Zulu Z time. So it's called Zulu, which is Z time, and then as well as UTC time. So 20Z is 4 p.m. Eastern, but that is actually 3 p.m. Central. That's 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. So it's a universal time. It's a universal time. And the NWS has a chart conversion for that. Let me see. I'll put that in the chat here. So we're on daylight savings time. Yeah, here, if you want to take a look at them, there you go. It's in the chat. Click on that and you can learn all of them. They have it for Guam, Hawaii, Alaska, Pacific, Mountain, Central, Eastern, and Atlantic time. It's what the National Weather Service uses, so that's why I have it here. But it might be something we want to change. The only reason why I don't have it as Eastern time is because sometimes I forget what time it is in Zulu, and then that can screw up model runs and timing for outlooks and stuff like that. Because I forget what time it is in Zulu. How's Springfield, Missouri looking? We had a ton of rain, not much clearing. Temps are 74, dews 68. Well, shoot. You tell me. It sounds like you know some stuff about the weather. Yeah, you didn't have a lot of clearing at all, and you had early morning convection come through, so probably not gonna get anything until later on in the day. If you can get some instability going, that best chance will be towards about 7 o'clock. It'll be towards about 7 o'clock Central Time. This is our newer model run here. I mean, yeah, that does have quite a few storms south of Springfield at 6 o'clock Central. So, want to keep an eye on it for sure. But the main threat, thankfully, you had those early morning storms. So, I don't anticipate you'll see much more than 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1-inch hail being the worst hazards today. The highest threat is definitely further south well further south, like northwest Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma. And see, we're going to have to watch these storms here. These storms are going to fire off of the cold front. So we've got 2 points of initiating for thunderstorms today, 2 main points. We have an outflow boundary, which is initiating multiple storms right now. We have an outflow boundary right in here. That is left over. Actually, it's a little bit more north than that. It's like right in here. There you go. We have an outflow boundary here, and that's helped intensify these storms, as well as fire storms in this area. And then we also have a cold front that is, I don't know exactly where it is right now. It's hard to tell from Radar Omega here, but it's generally like somewhere in here is where your cold front is. So once you get behind that cold front, that's when you're in the clear. That's when you're in the clear from severe storms. And right now, that's only like Oklahoma City, Norman. You guys are getting in the clear now. You're never really under much of a severe threat anyways today, though. I might be able to tell if we turn on, wind direction here. Let's see. Yeah, so your cold front, man, those arrows are so tiny. I'm blind, too, so it doesn't help. Let's see. It looks like it's somewhere, like, in here. That's where your cold front is, like, somewhere in this area, right in here. That's where your cold front looks to be right now. Yeah, because your low pressure, you could see your low pressure spin, that's right in here. So your low pressure is like up in this area here. So your low's in here, and then you have a cold front that's somewhere like this. Something like that. And then you have a warm front that is up in like this general area in here. And then, like I said, you have that outflow boundary too, right in here. So whenever this cold front passes you, that's when you become clear in terms of severe weather today. Not when the first round passes or the second round passes, but whenever that cold front passes, whatever round that may be. Which for some of you guys, that might be like round 5. For instance, if you're out here just northeast of Fort Smith, I mean, you already went through morning convection, then you went through this storm, so that's round 2. And then you're probably going to have round 3/4 right here. And then that might be round 5 by the time the cold front comes through north of Fort Smith. So some people may only get 1 storm today. Others may get 5. Really going to watch to see how this merges here. The good news is we have a lot of storms around it. So hopefully that will help. Kind of impede on this storm's environment and help diminish the chance for any tornadoes out of this better cluster that is starting to fire here. But if this stays by itself and it stays discrete and it's really able to mature here, we could very, very easily, we could have a big, big problem on our hands. That enhanced risk has been expanded to the south. I believe that enhanced risk has been expanded quite a little bit down to the south there. Looks like that goes all the way down to almost like Wilburton at this point. Let me see if this site has the new outlook. Yeah, but new SPC outlook, little expansion on that risk. And that expansion is for winds. They've added a 30% wind risk. 30% wind risk has been added. The 10 sig Tor looks very much the same. Very, very minimal change, if any, to the 10 sig tornado risk. I don't really see much change with the tornado risk at all. We'll have to do a side-by-side comparison. Oh, I do see one change. Actually, the 2% tornado risk has been expanded up into southern Illinois. So they extended that 2% a little bit more to the northwest there for some reason. That goes now well into Tennessee, into Kentucky, into Indiana, and Illinois. And the hail threat remains at 15%. So we're at a 10 sig tor, 15% hail, and a 30% wind. Looks like we just got a tornado watch too. Tornado watch has been issued until 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central. A couple strong tornadoes are possible. 75-mile-an-hour winds are likely, and 2-inch hail is possible. This is a tornado watch for over 2.4 million people. It is also for 878 schools and 80 hospitals. It stretches from McAllister and includes Tulsa, Oklahoma, all the way into Grove, Oklahoma, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Clarksville, Arkansas, Fort Smith, Arkansas, Conway, Arkansas, all inside that new tornado watch. Not sure if I have watches on for this. Okay, I do. Yeah, but there is that new watch. I'll go ahead and show you. In the purple, that is your new tornado watch that has just been issued by the SPC. Okay, I'm going to go look at the probabilities of it right now. Let's see, probability 50-40. So I said 60-40. It is a 50-40 tornado watch. That means there's a 50% chance of 2 or more tornadoes and a 40% chance that one of those is EF2+. There's a 60% chance of 10 or more 60-mile-an-hour damaging wind gust events, and a 30% chance at least one of those are greater than 75 miles per hour. There's a 40% chance that we get 10 events of 1 inch in diameter, and a 30% chance one of those is greater than 2 inch in diameter inside the watch area. They did go ahead and issue the severe thunderstorm warning for this cluster of storms. 1.25 inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds in effect for that severe thunderstorm. Waiting to see if the watches come up on Radar Omega or not. Let's see. Do you think the watch covers the right area in your opinion? Yep. I think this is a really good watch. It does go a little bit more. Actually, no, not really. Yeah, it really covers everything. I think that's a really good watch. Waiting to see the SPC outlook from a different page here, and then we can compare what changed. All right, there we go. Perfect. Let's compare what changed with the SPC outlook. I use College Dew page to compare. Alrighty. So that green area, that's the 2% tornado risk, and you can see really the only thing that changed is that 2% expansion for your tornado risk. They also disextended the slightest portion of the 2% on the northwest quadrant. And let's go check that wind threat. Wind's going to be the one that changed the most. You can see they expanded that 5% wind risk north, disexpanded that 15% slight, disexpanded that 5% marginal for damaging winds, and then added that 30% contour enhanced risk for damaging winds. Hail probs probably didn't change much. Yeah, just the smallest disexpansion as the cold front's pushing through. And then overall, that enhanced risk, because of your wind threat, was expanded quite a bit further to the south and east. That wind threat definitely added on a much larger portion of your enhanced risk. But still, that significant tornado threat remains pretty much exactly the same, if not exactly the same there. So nothing notable changed for that significant tornado risk, but we did get that little 2% tornado risk expansion. And then, of course, pretty decent change there for the enhanced risk. Pretty good southward expansion. All right, let me close out some sites here real quick. I've got a lot open. I'm stacking them up again. All right, there we go. Perfect. So Tornado Watch just got issued. If you're just now tuning in, we have a Tornado Watch that just got issued out here across eastern Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, for the potential of a couple tornadoes, a few of which could be strong, as well as 2-inch hail and 75-mile-per-hour winds, all being a possibility. So if you are in the watch area, make sure you are weather aware. Make sure you are completing that tornado preparedness plan if you haven't already completed it. And we're starting to see more and more severe thunderstorm warnings get issued. But thankfully, like I said, we are seeing a bit messy mode here, so that's really, really good news. A lot of clustering is really nice. No. Today is in no way moderate risk caliber. Today is on the edge of a enhanced risk. It's just barely worth that 10 sig tour. Because of that messy mode, the morning convection, the just-in-time warm front. It's definitely barely worthy of that enhanced risk. Barely. But I think it is worth it to issue that 10 sig tour because we do have the chance for a strong tornado. Pretty good environment. All it takes is just one storm to latch onto that boundary, become discrete, and then it's off to the races for a tornado threat with that one. Thankfully, we don't have a lot of storms competing right now. They're all kind of just taking up the environment and not doing too good. This cluster is all right in terms of a severe threat, but in terms of tornado threat, nothing's really taken off here. Which is to be expected. Like I said, really not expecting that tornado threat to ramp up till about 5 Eastern. That's 21Z, which you can see the Z/UTC time right there. A new meso analysis did just come out. Let me go over here. I literally just closed the meso analysis site. We'll go and reopen that. So here's the meso analysis site. This is the newest 20Z update from meso analysis. Yeah, and you can see that environment a lot more widespread for a favorable tornado environment here. But this is for sure not telling the whole story. For sure not telling the whole story there. That warm sector definitely pulled a bit north. Look at that. Pretty good northward pull there on your warm sector. Already going into southwestern Missouri there. Huge pull now of 4,000 plus instability. Very curious for wind shear here. Yeah, wind shear still not doing too hot. That's really good news. But that shear will get better, especially in the next 2 hours as that low pressure gets closer. Really helps to increase those wind speeds. 0 to 3 kilometer SRH, not too shabby. So really the only tornado threat right now, in my opinion, is only going to be in that small corridor. That's tiny little corridor right where the outflow boundary is, and we have to look where the instability is. So yeah, it's like strictly right in here where that tornado threat is limited to right now. Which is on the northern side of that enhanced risk from the SPC. Now, in about 2 hours, that wind shear is going to pull a bit more south, and then we'll have a more widespread threat for tornadoes later today. But right now, that is not the case. So if you are in any of these severe thunderstorm warnings, let's switch back over to this radar. We have a few severe warnings in effect at the moment. So we have this severe thunderstorm warning in effect out here in Westville, Oklahoma for 1.25-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds for the next 44 minutes. Make sure you're away from doors and windows. Make sure you're inside, and just acknowledge where your safe spot is. Make sure you know where that safe spot is, just in case things get a bit rough or this ends up ramping up at all. Just always make sure you know where that safe spot is, because today is a day where we could see tornadoes form relatively quickly. These two severe thunderstorm warnings out here, both in effect for 29 minutes, both for the same hazards of 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, in effect just north of Clarksville. Pretty rural area, decently rural area. Main threat with this is going to be very, very heavy rain and very frequent lightning. Just make sure you're away from doors and windows in that severe warning. This storm, not doing too horrible for the eastmost severe storm here. This is out here just barely west of Mountain View, barely for Marshall, along Highway 65, just north of Clinton in Arkansas. This is actually our highest severe thunderstorm warning in terms of hazards, 1.5-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds for the next 28 minutes possible inside that yellow polygon there. So make sure you're away from doors and windows if you're in that severe thunderstorm warning as well. Yeah, so really good look. Like I said, just fingers crossed we continue to see this very large area cluster up. That's the main uncertainty today, is the storm mode. How fast do things cluster up? And right now, the answer is very fast. Right now, it is very fast. So if we continue to see that, our tornado threat won't be nearly as high. However, there ought to be a couple storms that are able to really get a bit more discreet here. Getting the new HRRR here, 19Z. Really using more of current observations than model runs now, especially since storms have fired, but still want to check how good the HRRR is, and the answer is very bad. Not good at all. It definitely has these storms. Like, it has these storms fully clustered up into mainly a wind threat and hail threat in like 40 minutes. And it actually shows the main tornado threat coming from storms northwest of Tulsa. It says that storms will fire in this environment over here, which the problem with that is we don't have the best forcing up there. That's like that might be right where our boundary, our warm front and cold front intersect. So that could be a little bit of a triple point there. Let's see if I can... Just north of Tulsa. Huh. I mean, that's like right where your low pressure is. That's the HRRR's wanting storms almost on top of your low. And then it definitely has some big time hail threats going into the late evening hours. This shows your peak tornado threat being about 7 o'clock. Very sloppy, though. Very, very sloppy. And where's that 10 sig Tor at again? Yeah, so there's our 10 sig Tor. Let's see if we can actually look at the... Yes, we can. This is the new HRRR using WeatherWise's new model data. Renders in quicker than Radar Omega's. At least from what I've been able to tell here. So, yeah, this is definitely not what we're seeing right now. So the HRRR is already incorrect with that. That is not what we're seeing right now. So it says radar looks like this as of 4 o'clock. and we do not have this many intense supercells ongoing. Then it can just clusters up everything into a very huge, messy cluster in about 40 minutes or so, and then turns it into a damaging wind line there. And goes through Arkansas. And then, like I said, about 9 o'clock there, big time hailers, really right along the I-40 corridor coming out of Little Rock there. Greatest tornado threat on this model run is definitely portrayed about 7 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock. 6 o'clock, you have these supercells north and almost in Tulsa. You have some isolated supercells in southeastern Oklahoma. And then you also have these supercells trying to fire up on an outflow boundary. So, definitely an aggressive HRRR run with some of those supercells north of Tulsa, but really, overall, I really don't agree with the HRRR at the moment. It has these storms too intense, and as you can see, well, yeah, they're kind of not there. That's the thing. They're kind of just not there. I mean, they're... Ooh, where'd you come from? Now that's there. We've got a random severe storm out of nowhere out here in Ardmore, Oklahoma. Make sure if you're in Ardmore, Oklahoma, stay away from doors and windows. Go inside. This storm's very much capable of producing 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1 to 1.25 inch hail. Now, thankfully, these storms are very, very elevated, so the main threat down here is probably damaging winds, hail, and the lowest hazard is likely tornadoes. Martin, Tennessee, you guys are fine. If that's in West Tennessee, you have the chance for a very isolated severe storm. Let's see where that is. Yeah, you have the risk for a very isolated severe storm, but the main threat is definitely just heavy rain and some lightning. Really nothing too crazy. And then you do want to watch tomorrow. There's the chance for a couple isolated storms. Could see isolated 50-mile-an-hour wind gust, half-inch hail tomorrow. Highest chance for that will be from about noon all the way through about 7. Really just keep an eye on it on the weather all day tomorrow. They're very scattered. Very, very scattered severe storms. Very scattered severe storms for tomorrow. I don't think it will be anything very organized. Just isolated severe storms. We will have the risk for a brief tornado tomorrow somewhere on the northern end of that marginal risk, somewhere between Tennessee all the way up through southern Ohio, western West Virginia. Could see a brief tornado or two, but nothing like today or nothing very notable. Just a spin-up brief tornadoes possible. We did just get a severe thunderstorm watch. Exactly where, I have no idea, but I got the notification for it. See if I can find it on this site. Yep, severe thunderstorm watch in far southeastern Oklahoma, far northern Texas. 2005, so a 20% chance for 2 or more tornadoes, and a 5% chance of one of those being strong, so very low tornado probabilities. 60-30 wind and a 40-30 hail. So main threat is definitely 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gust. Won't rule out that gust as high as 80 miles per hour. And then some isolated large hail up to 2 inch in diameter possible. And you'll see that severe watch pop up here soon. It just got issued, so it's going to be just a little longer before we see that pop up on our software. A storm south of Fayette could attempt a brief meso as long as Oh, my bad. As it's got some backside mergers and inflow merger leading to perhaps a broad couplet co-located within the embedded hook. So you're basically just saying a merger could lead to an area of rotation with this area. Unless you're more... Oh, wait, you said... Yeah, you said... I'm trying to see the comment again. I lost it. South of Fayette. South of Fayetteville. Yeah, so that's actually this storm, but this stuff's all messy here. The only place I'd see for a good meso to try to form is like back here. So that's where we'll keep an eye on for a tornado threat here. But man, storms have rapidly fired up along that outflow boundary. Definitely leading to a substantially messier mode today. So main threat for the moment definitely is damaging winds of 60 miles an hour, and then isolated large hail of 1 to 1.5 inch in diameter. Tornado threat is very low at the moment, and again, that will be increasing, especially after 5 Eastern. Looks like about 5 to 9 will be the main threat for tornadoes today. Not impressed at all with the new HRRR. A lot of those storms on the new HRRR, many of them are just hailers. If not next to all of them. Because if we take a look here, this is for 7 o'clock tonight. And really all of this is really just all hail in here. The only main threat for a brief tornado would only be focused with that far western storm right in this corridor here at 7 o'clock Eastern. And then 8 o'clock, these storms are very, very elevated. So what looks like, oh my goodness, tornado outbreak happening, is actually more like, oh my goodness, 1 inch hail happening. Likely, you know, we would have still the chance for a brief tornado, but your main hazard is for sure going to be hail and damaging winds if that were the case. And then those storms in southern Oklahoma, like I said, very elevated profiles out here. Very, very elevated profiles in southern Oklahoma, northern Texas. So very low tornado threat. Not zero, but very low tornado threat in southern Oklahoma. I don't really think elevated profiles will be an issue for our main tornado risk up here. I don't think elevated profiles are going to be an issue up here. The main problem by a milestone is overconvection, and then also not the best amount of lower level wind shear. Outbreak of the year, definitely not. Definitely not. That is for sure. What are push notifications? So, depends on what you're referring to. After you start a live stream, some softwares and sites like Twitch allow for you to notify your followers multiple times. So, if I went live, say at like 3 p.m., I could send another notification out to people that I'm live at like 3:30. Or it could be something as simple as just notifications as a whole. But that's likely referring to additional notifications. It just depends on what you're talking about there. Outbreak of the year, March 14th, 2025. That is the outbreak of the year, in my opinion. And King Bob, too. Wow, look at that. I agree. I agree, King Bob. I agree. We're down to just 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in our tornado watch now. We were at 4, so we just cut that in half. We've got one out here still in Marshall for 1.5-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and then our other one with this messy cluster, very big time lightning strikes with this one in northeastern Oklahoma here. That is actually a significant severe now for 2-inch hail. So if you're in that severe, I highly recommend staying away from doors and windows and staying close to your safe spot, because those hailstones could get large enough to cause damage to sidings on mobile homes. So definitely want to make sure you are indoors, away from doors and windows, close to that safe spot, just in case those hailstones get a bit too large and you may need to go to that safe spot. That is considered a significant severe now. Significant severe thunderstorm warning. Then we have our other storm. This is in a severe thunderstorm watch back out here in Ardmore, Oklahoma. Just simply make sure you're away from doors and windows. Be indoors and you'll be fine. Do I have like severe watches turned off over here or something? Severe. Oh my goodness, I actually do. Yeah. Yo. Whoops. I didn't think I did. I was just joking there. Alright, let me make those. Let's see. I don't know why I have them for... Let's see. I think 800 milliseconds, 10 seconds, no sound. Flash is... I think white is what I normally do. Okay, that's way too fast. There you go. Yeah, it's 800 milliseconds. Got it. And let's see if I can turn this into... There we go. That ocupacity is too high. Put that down to like maybe 40. What's the tornado watch at? 30. All right, we'll put this down to 30. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. So there's our new severe thunderstorm watch. That's issued out in southeastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, extreme northern counties in northeastern Texas for the next 6 hours or so. Main risk is definitely damaging winds, followed by up to 2-inch in diameter hail, and a brief tornado can't be fully ruled out, but tornado risk is definitely the lowest out of all risks. If you are in that yellow severe thunderstorm watch area. I really feel like I should make those kind of those watches pink, because I feel like yellow watches blend in a little bit too much with my severe watch or my severe warnings. I kind of do like that more. Now I got to go change it on Radar Omega, but I actually don't know how to change it on Radar Omega anymore. They switched up their UI on me, and I'm not a fan. Don't change something that's not broke. Like, come on, bro. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the saying. I guess it'll just have to be yellow on this software and pink on this one. Wow. This is an insane 10 significant tornado risk day, ain't it, y'all? I cannot believe my eyes. It's popping off like crazy. Yeah, I don't have a lot of patience. Sometimes I've ended way too early before storms actually really pop off. I just downgraded that to a ordinary severe for 1.5-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Definitely had some big downtrends convection-wise earlier this morning. I mean, like models like the HRRR were showing multiple supercells with tornadoes likely at 4 o'clock. And now that same HRRR model with newer runs has like nothing really popping off until until more cluster, more severe cluster really gets forming towards 6. Still don't see anything north of Tulsa. I think the HRRR is just trying to be different there. It's definitely kind of on its own with that convection out there in Oklahoma being a problem. Far northeastern Oklahoma being a problem. Yeah, we'll watch that area just in case, but I don't really think it's going to be much of a problem up there. Man, these things went like instantly linear. Or, yeah, more clustered. More like clustered. But not linear yet. It's just a big bunch of storms here. Bunch of storms here. Not as organized of a storm mode as I previously thought. What is the outbreak of the decade? 2015 to 2025? Well, I didn't track anything from 2015 all the way up to 2020, so I really didn't track any of those. 2021 is when I really started to track tornadoes. I was tracking tropics in 2020 though. I was actually tracking tropics all the way in back in like 2016. But from 2015 to 2025, I couldn't really speak on that honestly. And also, I think you kind of got the wrong decade. In my opinion, you should separate the decades by every 10 years. So, like 2020 to 2030 is this decade. So, like last decade was obviously April 27th, 2011 was the outbreak of the decade from 2010 to 2020. And then from 2020 to 2030, well, March 31st, 2023. I think a lot of people forget how insane that day was. You said it yourself, too. Jake said March 31st, and I think that would be a very, very good contender. But I don't know. I think we'll probably end up with a contender like March 31st, 2023, sometime in the next 5 years. Decade's halfway over, so who knows what the next 5 years of tornadoes will look like. At this rate, yeah, we're going to have a couple more outbreaks of the decade. Definitely watch how this is merging here. Definitely doesn't look the worst. But it's still going to take a little while for that to get its act together if it ever does. But yeah, that's really a personal kind of opinion on what the outbreak of the decade has been so far. That's really just a personal opinion. But March 31st, 2023, I tracked that for 8 hours on stream and then multiple hours off stream. And I think people often overlook just how insane it was. I mean, we were tracking multiple tornado emergencies at the same time. With a countless amount of PDS warnings, I can't even remember. A double high risk too. I mean, 188 tornado reports. That's something, man. That is something. really high up there in tornado count. I mean, you just ain't gonna see another outlook like this for a lot of years to come. Maybe even a couple decades before you see another outlook like that, anywhere close to that. That large of a moderate with a double high risk. And then here's the verification of it. That southern high risk definitely was an iffy call, but really, when you looked at the environment, it was very clear. Models were very iffy, but the environment was like, yeah, high risk definitely warranted for that southern mode. Northern mode, that high risk was warranted very easily. But yeah, like I said, often overlooked just how insane that was. I mean, we literally had PDS tornado warnings from northeastern, east central Iowa down to southern Tennessee, northern Mississippi, central Arkansas. So that widespread of an outbreak is just crazy. But you also have other contenders like the Mayfield tornado that was on December 10th, 2021. You got Rolling Fork 2023. But that was more of the Rolling Fork tornado was more of that was like one long tracked supercell that necessarily wasn't as widespread, but that's another very notable tornado there. You know, you have a couple outbreaks that people would personally say is the outbreak of the decade so far. And I think another thing is also it's very, very much dependent on it if they were impacted. If you were impacted by a tornado, you know, that's even if it's not an outbreak or anything, that's going to be your most memorable event. Oh no, that is that outlook you saw. That was not today. Oh boy, nope, definitely not. Definitely not today's outlook. Yeesh. Let me go back over to. There we go. April 12th, 2020. Like I said, I didn't track anything from anything before 2021. My first memorable tornado outbreak that I tracked, let me get the date. The one that really got me into weather the most. Let's see. Trying to find it. So the first one I remember, March 17th, 2021, the 45 Sig tour in Mississippi, Alabama. That was one of the first outbreaks I remember. And the Mayfield tornado, that's the tornado that really like sparked my interest in tornadoes as a whole. That really, really sparked my interest in tornadoes. And then for some reason, I can't remember like anything from 2022. So Westville, Eastern Oklahoma, make sure you are indoors, away from doors and windows. Might want to be in your safe spot. We've got a pretty intense area of velocity here, signifying 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts being a possibility. And this looks to be going very, very close to, if not, is going to be going over Westville in Eastern Oklahoma. The SPC, or rather the NWS out here, the National Weather Service, just upgraded this severe thunderstorm warning to 70 mile per hour winds. And that hail threat was downgraded a little bit further down to 1.25 inch in diameter. So make sure you're indoors, away from doors and windows, and it's probably best to be close to, if not in your safe spot, because of that significant wind threat there with the severe thunderstorm warning going into the town of Westville in eastern Oklahoma. Also, a severe thunderstorm warning out here was recently issued just about 5 or so minutes ago for 1 inch hail, 60 mile an hour winds. Be indoors, away from doors and windows, but I really don't see that being very severe at the moment, to be honest with you. And this severe thunderstorm warning just expired, so we're at 2 severe warnings in our tornado watch. We still do have that third one down way over here for Ardmore, Oklahoma. No tornado warnings. 0 tornado warnings active at the moment. But we're watching this big cluster, trying to get its act together here. To see if that's going to be able to form an area of rotation after the cell merge is complete, which still, it's going to take a while. That merger's still very much beginning. Let's see. Yeah, for 2023, definitely March 31st. But we were talking about what may be the outbreak of the decade so far. Which, like I said, I feel like it's more of a personal opinion there, because, you know, if you got impacted by a tornado, that's going to be your outbreak so far of the decade. Personal opinion, and also if you've been personally impacted by tornadoes. Worst outbreak of 2024. April 16th, was it? Multiple EF3s, or was it April 26th? That's what it was. April 26th. April 26th. Out there in eastern Nebraska, western Iowa. I just watched a documentary on that the other day, actually. It was on TV. I was binge watching tornado documentaries. And 2023, yeah, that was March 31st. 2022, like I said, can't remember anything. And then 2021 was probably Mayfield, December 10th. 2020 was, I imagine, was that the Mid-Atlantic? The Mid-Atlantic had like a tornado emergency in 2020 because of, was that Ida? I feel like. I think I remember that. Might be wrong on the year. When was Ida? Was that 2020 or 2021? 2021. That was 2021. That was 2021. Yeah, so for 2021, I think probably December 10th. I do remember November 4th for 2022. Man, we've had a lot of notable outbreaks. Every year we have a very notable outbreak. It's guaranteed. Every year there's an outbreak that you're going to remember. But again, then talking about outbreak of the decade so far, that's very much more debatable there. There we go. SPC site was down there. Some reason it always goes down on the top of the screen. December 28th, 2024 will be a notable one. I remember either at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, we almost had a high risk. We almost had a high risk. It was either in December, or either December last year or January this year. We almost had a high risk. That was insane. Not what I expected to look. I opened up the SPC discussion, scrolled down, it said tornado probability, like an upgrade in tornado probabilities was considered, but ultimately not issued due to it was probably over convection, let's be honest. I'm going to go read that discussion now. I want to go see that. Apparently that was December 28th, 2024. I remember that it was either the end of last year or the beginning of this year. Dang! 126 tornado reports, so that would have verified very nicely as a high risk. Yeesh. Let's go to day 1 here. When did they mention it? Was it the morning update? I know they mentioned it somewhere in this. Man, that's a big discussion. Aha. Let's see. The tornado threat suggests maintaining a moderate probability with this outlook cycle, but enough uncertainty remains to preclude a greater risk area. Is that the 20Z update they mentioned that at? Yeah. No. That was the morning update. 13Z update. They mentioned going high risk in December. That was December 28th, 2024. I do remember that. That was the day where we had a big line in western Mississippi with like a bunch of tornado warnings. Shoot, these storms might go sub-severe right here, y'all. we may have no severe warnings in 9 minutes. There is the possibility for a severe watch down here from Jacksboro all the way down to about... Actually, let me just do this. Go to the mesoscale discussions. There we go. Yeah, possibility for a severe thunderstorm watch here from Jacksboro, east of Abilene, Texas. Only a 40% chance, so there's a better chance we do not see a severe watch than we do. So either way, though, the main risk will definitely be 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1.5-inch hail being possible. It's just a matter of if we see enough storms to warrant that severe watch, which right now is uncertain. All right, there's a new severe thunderstorm warning for this big old storm here. Big cluster. They've opted to go with considerable severe 70-mile-per-hour winds, 1.25-inch hail, and it is indeed torr possible. So make sure you are indoors, away from doors and windows, and close to your safe spot because this storm could potentially produce a tornado in the future. Very, very messy, though. Very, very messy. I think if we do get a tornado threat from this, it's going to have to come from that far southern end after this cell merge finishes. Either that, or it would have to come from the front of the storm near West Fork. One or the other there. Oh, little storm firing up there. Who knows? Maybe that's going to become a supercell like the HRRR said. We'll keep an eye on that little tiny storm northwest of Tulsa. You never know. Maybe the HRRR is going to be right for once. It would be a shocker, but it's not impossible. Let me see. Yeah, Brad pointed that out. Just saw Brad's comment there. Not showing up on radar yet, but west of Tulsa, clouds are growing upwards. Yeah, that's with this little storm up here. Wait, Kaylee said something too I missed up here. I do remember that, Kaylee. Yes. Kaylee said, do I remember the 2 tornadoes near your house shortly after I got off stream? Yep. I do remember that. Doesn't surprise me. Right when I end, you start getting warnings. We'll get a new meso analysis here in about 20 minutes. About 20 minutes, we will get a new meso analysis. Yeah, still gonna watch this little tiny area of precipitation right in there, and then, like I said, also right up in here. Both of those areas we're gonna watch for the possibility of rotation in the future. A lot of flash flooding. A lot of flash flooding. I think that's the biggest hazard right now. We go ahead and move our radar site here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe about 8, 9 flash flood warnings here. About 9 flash flood warnings. Let's see. Oh, apparently we have 10, yeah. We have 10 flash flood warnings, 9 in this area. 9 in this area, and then number 10 over here in southeastern Missouri. Yeah, so this is exactly what you want to see on a severe weather day here. Just complete over-convection in the main tornado risk. Full over-convection of a messy supercell. Trying to get its act together, but not actually fully getting its act together yet. And hopefully it doesn't get that. Hopefully it doesn't get to that that status where we have to really watch it for a tornado. It's right on that outflow boundary, so I mean, if it becomes less messy, it could try something. Also, with that little tiny storm trying to go up there northwest of Tulsa, at least as of 4 p.m., which we'll get a new update, like I said, in about 15 minutes, wind shear looks to be very, very low up there. So even if that does get going, the main threat will probably be winds and small hail. But it looks like that's not really sustaining too well. Hello, Ethan. Glad to see you in here. Why does my monitor look so sideways? Looks very sideways. Didn't realize that until just now. We'll see what the new HRRR has, just because why not? Like to look at it for fun. Even though it hasn't been doing well today in the slightest. So we're gonna wait to see how today plays out. HRRR still has that Tulsa cell. I do see it on the newest frame of the HRRR, but I'm only 1 frame in right now. I'm only 1 frame. Yeah, so you can see we also actually just got an expansion of that severe warning very far south too. So this very far southern warning apparently just got expanded. I don't see it right now. There you go. Yeah, 1.25 inch hail, 60 mile an hour winds. It actually did strengthen a bit. It managed to pick up a little bit more steam there. You could see this was originally the severe warning, and then it completely dissipated. We actually got a new storm that strengthened up to severe status there. That's going to be going probably right through downtown Ardmore, Oklahoma. So if you're in Ardmore, Oklahoma, make sure you're away from doors and windows. Pretty rough storm about to roll through. Frequent lightning, very heavy rain, 1 inch hail, 60 mile an hour winds, all will be possible. In about really starting now, and the worst of it will be in about 15 minutes as that main core passes over Ardmore. Also, this actually is a observed 1.5 inch hail threat here for the severe warning in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Observed 1.5-inch hail. Radar indicated 70-mile-an-hour winds, as well as a tour possible tag. Elm Springs, Arkansas. Worst of the storms are barely staying off to your south at the moment. So very, very frequent lightning, very heavy rain, damaging winds, and some small hail happening south of you. But in Elm Springs, Arkansas, looks like you're going to avoid the worst at the moment. Definitely going to start raining here in probably 10 minutes, but worst of this will stay south. At least this first round. Now, there's likely going to be a second round here later on in the day. We have a chance for a second round towards about 7 o'clock Eastern, so keep an eye on that just in case. Yeah, our newest HRRR run really is liking the idea of this storm northwest of Tulsa becoming a supercell and moving southeast like this. Main threat will definitely be damaging winds and hail, but it would still have a tornado threat. Even with the lack of lower level wind shear, it would still be capable of producing a brief tornado. That's if it can get going here over the next hour. HRRR wants that to be a supercell at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I don't know if it's going to be able to blow up that fast, but we'll see. 5:30, 6 o'clock, and this updraft doesn't look very healthy at 5 p.m. So not too confident in the HRRR getting that one right. Yeah, I know some chasers already starting to call it quits here. Few chasers already called it quits. All they had to see was a clustery mode, and they're like, nope. I'm out. Goodbye. But I do think this storm here, it's definitely lighting up a lot, really starting to strengthen at the moment. But it still has some work to do. It's got to get a little bit more kind of organized here. Now, there may be like two separate storms in here. Like this might be a storm, and this might be a storm. But still, they got to organize a little bit more to have better tornadic activity with them. So we're down to 2 severes again. There's actually 3 severes up in Canada, but in terms of the U.S., we've got only 2 severes, one of which is in south central Oklahoma for Ardmore, and the other is on the Oklahoma-Arkansas border. That includes Fayetteville, Arkansas there. Fayetteville, Arkansas, Prairie Grove, West Fork, Lincoln, Springdale in Arkansas, and also includes Westville in far eastern Oklahoma. Yeah, I don't know. Rockets looks like the curse of the 10 sig tour is gonna live another day here. Looks like it's gonna continue on with the 10 sig tour curse. 5% tornado risks pop off, and then when they get upgraded to 10 sig tour, they just fall apart. That's what it feels like sometimes. Hey, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with another bust. I will be perfectly fine if that's the case today. I mean, it's another failed forecast, but hey, we don't see any tornadoes and nobody gets hurt, so Um, I don't like when the community acts like busts are a bad thing. I would much rather spend 3 hours watching a bust occur than spend 3 hours tracking devastating tornadoes. I do enjoy radar coverage and tracking them and helping you guys out, but still, 10 out of 10 times, I would much rather have a bust. No, I mean, I'm not calling it a bust yet. I'm just saying I would love for this to be a bust. And with this more messy mode here, and then these weak updrafts not being able to fire, I mean, it doesn't look promising. I'll put it that way. It does not look promising. And it looks like we have a problem with lower level wind shear. That just really never got up. I mean, we're only at 50. We're literally at 50 0 to 1 kilometer SRH right now. So, that wind shear has been severely is an understatement, but severely underdone. I'm trying to check it on the HRRR run real quick. But like I said, you're not done with severe weather till that cold front passes, so don't let your guard down. Keep your fingers crossed that we continue to look the way we are with a bust and a pretty inactive day. But until that cold front passes, you're not in the clear. See if we can spot that cold front on satellite at all. I doubt it. I doubt it, but hey, give it a shot. I mean, it's definitely over here. I can tell you that. Your cold front's definitely like right in this area. I don't know exactly where, but I can definitely tell like right in here is where your cold front is. Barely northwest of Tulsa. Actually. Hmm. This might be your cold front here. Yeah, that might be your cold front actually. But then that kind of leaves a question mark on why we're seeing storm development here. Your low pressure, it looks like your low pressure is located. Yeah, your low pressure is located up near Tulsa. Yeah, your low is literally like right up here. So this storm is like firing on your low pressure. Because you have northeasterly winds here, and then they turn to westerly, and then southwesterly, southerly, and then easterly winds. So you definitely have a low pressure. Your low pressure is definitely near Tulsa. So your low is here, cold front here, warm front. This is an approximation. Warm front here, and then your outflow boundary here. I'm curious then, what is do we have a second cold front here? Front analysis by the SPC. Hmm. Not according to surface observations, Ethan. According to the surface observations, it's closer to Tulsa. But I do think I don't feel like this is your cold front. I mean, your low pressure's up in Tulsa, but I don't feel like that's your cold front, and I'll give you one big reason. If you look at the instability, you can tell that that does not look like where your cold front is, right? Your cold front looks further off to the west. Your cold front looks closer to Oklahoma City. Oh, we are seeing more storms firing near Tulsa, but I mean, they're very weak updrafts right now. They're very, very weak. I'll show you guys surface observations when they update here. Okay, they just updated. Let's see here. So, Ethan, are you saying the, which one are you saying is the cold front? Closer to OKC or east of Tulsa? All right, here's your surface observations. This is surface-based CAPE. Surface-based CAPE here. And you can clearly see... I mean, to me, it looks like to me, Ethan, the cold front is in here. Because that's where your winds change. Somewhere like right in there. And your low pressure also, because you can see these are... You can clearly see there's winds in here. Like this. I can clean this up a little more by doing surface observations like that. You can see the MEDARs. To me, it looks like your low pressure is very close to Tulsa. Close to in here. But then again, like I said, that would mean that that your cold front would have to be like right in there too. Which that is closer to... Your low pressure is close to Tulsa. Your front would be in there. I'm never good at front recognition. Ethan's probably substantially better than that at me. That's something I'm still trying to improve on. I've never been great at that. If y'all have watched this channel for any more than a month, you'll know I'm not the best at recognizing a front. But to me, it just makes sense that your low pressure is in here and your cold front is in here. Which is in between Tulsa. Your low would be bigger. Your low like that. Generally in there. Cold front in there. Your low is kind of like a little west of Tulsa. Right in the vicinity of Tulsa. And then your cold front is like with your low pressure almost on top of Tulsa, and then it goes to your cold front, warm front like that. So you're saying the low pressure is northwest of Tulsa? You have it up here. And then a cold front like this. Which the only problem with that is the WPC has surface observations. They already have the cold front in front of where you're saying right there. WPC, this is drawing from 18Z, so about what, 3 hours ago? At 18Z, they had the low generally in here, with the warm front generally in here, and then a cold front generally down in here. But that was 3 hours ago. Obviously, things have changed. I just don't think your low pressure is going to be... I don't think your cold front's going to be further west than what it was 3 hours ago. Temps are colder on one side, warmer on the other. I'm going more off of wind change. Where those winds turn from westerly to southerly. And I'm also basing it off of your convection, too. You could see, like, right in there. Generally right in there. I don't know where it goes in Texas. Yeah, according to the WPC, it does take a turn right out here in Texas. So to me, that's kind of like where your cold front is, in my opinion. Or not that far west, my bad. And here. Somewhere in there. It's somewhere in Oklahoma. Haha. How about that? Cold fronts in Oklahoma. Jeez, I'm going to move on to another subject. It's somewhere in Oklahoma, and once it passes you, you're in the clear. Man. Especially when you have like a weaker low pressure and a weaker cold front, that's when it gets a lot harder to define where your cold front is. We don't have a strong low. We don't have like a 990 millibar low over here with a negatively tilted trough. We've got a tiny little weak 1008 millibar low, barely a low, with a very weak cold front. Still a good enough cold front to cause forcing, though. Let's see here. Yeah, little updrafts still going up there near Tulsa, but not anything concerning right now. Is Joplin more favorable? I think the worst of the storms are staying south of Joplin. I think Missouri won't see the worst of these storms. You are still going to see some rain, some lightning, but I think the worst of our severe storms are going to stay to the south of you. I really don't see anything getting up into Missouri anymore. At least anything severe. I mean, the SPC still does have a 5%, barely into like Branson, Missouri. 2% risk goes up into Joplin. You still have a chance for a severe storm or two. I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it will be bad. I don't think it will be like what we could see back down in here. Back down where these storms are now, from Fayetteville all the way down to Ardmore, Oklahoma. That's where our largest concern is at the moment. And we're also watching those little storms up in Tulsa because HRRR's been showing them becoming supercells. Well, yeah, now that the sun is out, it is going to create a more favorable environment, but even with that favorable environment, I don't see storms being that rough. This is the newest HRRR here, which it keeps most of the worst storms in this area. Let me zoom out a little bit more. Keeps most of the worst storms in this region here. That's where it has the worst storms today. And you can see Joplin still gets heavy rain, 7:30 Eastern, that's 6:30 Central. But very isolated. Very, very isolated, strong to severe storms. Most of it is just a lot of rain and some lightning. As we get later past 7, the environment is a lot less favorable for tornadoes. So, these storms look like tornadic. Some of these storms look tornadic 7:30, 8 o'clock, but really they're probably not that tornadic. Main threat is wind and small hail. Man, Ethan, you want any more fronts there? You got a warm front, you got a cold front, warm front, cold front, and what I could assume is a confluence band. No, it does feel that way though. It does feel that way when you're looking at surface analysis. You're like, dude, is there like 4 fronts here? Why do temperatures change in western Oklahoma? But then you have Cape in central Oklahoma, and then you have storms firing off of what looks like a boundary in eastern Oklahoma. So it literally looks like you've got 3 different boundaries, 3 or 4. Weather is not easy. It's very confusing, especially when you're dealing with much weaker storms too. Like I said, very weak low. Let's see. New severe warning for 1.25-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, a couple more people are pointing out those storms west of Tulsa. And I don't know, looking a little bit better now. Those updrafts are getting a little bit stronger. Especially the one in the middle of your screen right there. Yeah, it's so weak. It's not really changing temperatures too much. I mean, you're going from 77 to 81 in central Oklahoma. Now back in eastern Oklahoma, y'all right now, y'all are at like 92. Yeah, the only problem with these storms here that you're looking at northwest of Tulsa is the same problem that we have back out in Arkansas and Oklahoma. There's not a lot of lower level wind shear. There's just not a lot of lower level wind shear. Photographs, yeah, photographs. I don't know how we got this bean looking supercell right now when photographs look straight out of North Carolina. Like that is, dude. I don't know how we got a bean cell in that environment. And then, of course, if you go back towards your outflow boundary, you definitely get a bit better curvature. But then if you go even a little bit south, well, you still get pretty good curvature further south there. Yeah, definitely, it's not bad. It's just there's not a lot of SRH there. 62 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. So it's not horrible. It's just not the best. And then back up in Tulsa, like I said, North Carolina type photograph right there. Definitely doesn't look the best. Wonder, let me go to surface-based Cape here. Yeah, I mean, the environment, this environment back here in south central Oklahoma, I mean, this is like prime. This is like a prime environment out here. A bunch of Cape. Just a bunch of Cape there. A really good effective bulk shear, which should allow for enough forcing for these storms to fire and grow upscale. Not a lot of upper level bulk shear towards 8 kilometer, but yeah, it's lacking a bit in upper level bulk shear and lower level helicity. So not that favorable for tornadoes, especially southwest of McAllister. But northeast of McAllister, a little bit more favorable there. So we'll have to see if this stuff ends up firing up and if it does congeal at all into a line or a messier mode. New severe thunderstorm warning here for Clinton and Fairfield Bay. That is just barely north of Greenbrier here, north of Conway in central Arkansas. Definitely a big wind threat there. 50, 60 mile an hour wind gust there. 0.75 inch hail possible. Yeah, definitely keeping an eye on those storms, Catman, northwest of Tulsa. I mean, at this point, they might be the only storms that end up being discrete today. So even though you have a little lacklustering wind shear, not the best upper level bulk shear, still could get a tornado threat out of those just simply because they're more likely to be discrete. Yeah, surface temps aren't that bad either. You're at about 86 and 82 up there in Tulsa. So if you're just tuning in, main name of the game so far has been a big old mess of severe storms. Fired a little bit earlier than anticipated as well. And that's allowed for a very rapid upscale growth of severe storms, allowing for a very messy mode consisting mainly of heavy rain, frequent lightning, 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts, and 1 inch hail. We did have one report of 1.5 inch hail, though. No tornado warnings. We've had a little areas to watch for velocities, but there hasn't been any good areas of rotation. A lot of lacklustering and lower level wind shear has been the issue for any good areas of rotation. So we're watching these storms northwest of Tulsa, trying to fire up. Some models explode them into supercells here in 30 minutes. Other models just destroy them. But either way, it's just something to keep an eye on, just in case. And those storms are like almost on the low pressure. Welcome to the stream, Brooklyn and Catman. Two people from around the Tulsa area tuning in at the exact same time. Yeah, I have a feeling few reports of a possible tornado 30 minutes ago. That very easily could have been Scud. Very, very easily could have been Scud. That was near Eldon. Where is that at? Oh, okay. So that's with this messy cluster of storms here. Yeah, possible tornado just north of Eldon, Oklahoma, about 30 minutes ago. If it was a tornado, it would have been very, very, very brief. Looks like some people said it was a weak tornado. Others are just saying it was Scud. I didn't see a video of it. It was just a photo, and just from a photo, I can't say if it was or wasn't. Tulsa cell looks good. Yeah, it does. I agree with that. We'll see if it can maintain a good updraft. See if there's any other information out there I might have missed. Let's see here. Yeah, we still have the risk for a few I think we still have the risk for a tornado or two, maybe even a strong one, but it all comes down to if storms are discrete. If they're not discrete, they're probably not going to produce tornadoes. Today's not really the type of QLCS tornado spam type day. It's more of the discrete storm trying to produce tornado type day. And we ain't got none of those. Only semi-decent discrete storm right now is west of Tulsa. And we do have another one northwest of Fort Smith, but these are just kind of messy right away as they form. See what Catman sent me here. Clouds. I guess that's a storm, probably the storm just north of west rather. Yeah, west of Tulsa. There's definitely a little CU right there. Take a look at satellite here really quick. It's okay, it's not that bad. I thought it was going to be really hard to see, but you can see some CU right in here. Right in there. CU filled. Look at the Jonesboro storm. Jonesboro. That's like up here. Are we talking like are we talking like Jonesboro like like that? I see. Let's see here. It's favorable. Environment's favorable for a brief weak tornado, so yeah, let me loop this real quick just to see if it's corruption. No, looks legitimate to me. Looks legitimate enough to me. A little area of rotation trying to produce a tornado north of Jonesboro, Arkansas. That is northeastern Arkansas. Now this should be in our 2% tornado risk area here. Yeah. That's in our 2% tornado risk. A little area of rotation strengthening just barely on the north side of Jonesboro, or barely north of Jonesboro. Keep an eye on that. Wait for another scan on that. Yeah, this storm's still very capable of producing 60-mile-an-hour winds here. This is going towards Clinton, Fairfield Bay, Twin Groves, B Branch, and kind of North Arkansas. I did see the one in Cache, too. Yeah, little area of rotation there. That doesn't line up as well, but it's a small area there. Yeah, new update. Still a little area of rotation just north of Jonesboro. So we're watching these two little miniature supercells here in northeastern Arkansas for the potential of a brief tornado out of them. We'll see if either one gets warned or really starts to increase in strength there. Did they severe warn that, or is that an old severe warning? A new severe thunderstorm warning just south of Stillwell, Oklahoma for 1.25-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds for the next 26 minutes. Just make sure you're away from doors and windows. Can't tell if I'm in the 2% or 5%. Looks like you're in the 5% to me. To me, it looks like you're in the 5%. If you're anywhere around the Tulsa Metro, you're in a 5%. I'm a little surprised that's so far to the west, to be honest with you. Why is that 5% so far west? Jeez. I mean, that 5% is, it doesn't stop till west of Tulsa. Maybe they do see something coming out of this storm here northwest of Tulsa. Yeah, it might be a little boundary here helping these storms to fire. I wonder if that's your cold front or something. I mean, like I said, this is right next to your low pressure. Super close to your low. Very, very weak low. Matter of fact, you know what I didn't think of? So just now. What about 3 Cape vorticity? Hmm. Hmm. Look at that. Got a little overlap right there. Little overlap right barely west. Really, this is over Tulsa. Right where that blue and red lap over, right in here. Overlap. Yeah, we'll definitely want to watch that. That low pressure might help aid in tornado genesis. As Catman just said. Texarkana, Texas, looking for tonight. Let's see. Definitely the risk for isolated severe storm or two. You're in that slight risk for severe weather. So primary risk is 60 mile-an-hour winds and half-inch hail. If you're on the Texas side of Texarkana, you're in a severe thunderstorm watch. But if you're in like eastern Texarkana, you're just barely outside of it. You can see the pink and the non-shaded area there. But either way, it will be a very late event for you. A very much overnight late event. And you do have a 2% tornado risk, but I mean, that tornado threat, it's very low right now up in the main risk area in eastern Oklahoma. So I don't expect anything down here, but just you are under the threat for a tornado technically. It's just a very, very low chance. So main threat, 50 mile-an-hour winds, half-inch hail. A brief tornado can't be fully ruled out, but that tornado threat is unlikely. And time frame is overnight tonight. Looks like probably models aren't really doing the best today. I'd say your best chance for rain is probably close to maybe 2 a.m., 1 a.m. Yeah, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Central. Dallas, no. Tornadoes, we likely won't have a tornado threat that far south into Dallas. 2% stops just barely before Dallas, though. Main threat out here in Texas. There's a lot of uncertainty on if storms really even can be mature. You could see a lot of these are just small, tiny storms here. So the main threat is frequent lightning, heavy rain, and if any of these can organize, we could see up to 1.5 inches hail as well as 60 mile-an-hour winds. Welcome, AJ. Thank you for tuning in. Bonham, Texas. Yeah, you're a bit further north, so you do have a better chance of seeing severe weather towards about 7 o'clock Central. Keep an eye around 7 o'clock later this evening. These storms are going to be pushing through here in about an hour, starting to push through in about 1.5 to 2.5 hours. But right now, it looks like storms are staying north and south of you. So if we see anything fire in this area, that would be the storms to get very close to, if not go in your area. And I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado in southern Oklahoma, far northern Texas. Again, you could see the tornado probabilities. 2% does go that far south, so it's a possibility for a spin-up tornado somewhere in this 2% area for later this evening. I would not rule it out. Same hazards for Lennard, Texas. Same thing. Same time frame. It just depends on if we can get storms to fire. If they fire and move your direction, there's a pretty good chance they'll be strong to severe. Something to note here is we got an outflow boundary that is formed here. So what that's going to do is that's probably going to inhibit much rotation or any areas of good velocity signatures from forming here. So the main threat is definitely going to be 50, 60 mile-an-hour winds with these storms, less of a tornado threat. Anything that is around that outflow boundary, specifically directly behind it, so all of this stuff in here, likely going to be outflow dominant and be a very minimal tornado threat. Now, this little guy might be able to get going. We'll see if he can do anything before it really gets merged and clustered here. But you can see that outflow boundary is moving just a little bit south. These storms are moving kind of east-southeast at this point. To me, it looks like they're moving east-southeast right now. This one's moving more east-northeast. So these will eventually collide. We'll keep an eye on this one, going towards Cedarville in Arkansas. Make sure you are away from doors and windows if you're in Cedarville, Arkansas. So you're about around McAllister. So these storms down here are moving northeast. But right now, they haven't really strengthened that much. The strange thing is, it's a very favorable environment for severe weather. Not for necessarily tornadoes, but for 60 mile an hour winds and 1 to 1.5 inch hail, it's a pretty favorable environment. But these storms just are not sustaining. And yeah, like I said, they are moving kind of northeast at this point. Main threat will just be lightning and heavy rain at the moment, but we could see the isolated wind gust of 40 to 50 miles an hour, 40 to 50 mile an hour winds and half-inch hail. Still that little updraft going up here around Tulsa. If you are in the northern metro of Tulsa, there is a special weather statement. So that's considered a strong storm. It is a special weather statement for 40 mile an hour winds and penny-sized hail. So just make sure you are indoors and you'll be fine. Now, if it goes severe, you'll have to be indoors, away from doors and windows, and, you know, stay close to your safe spot just in case it gets rough. But at the moment, it is a special weather statement, which means don't go outside. It's probably best to stay away from doors and windows because there is some lightning with this storm too. And also some small hail. Let's go back to these storms northeastern Arkansas. Rotation really just died out ever since we looked away. Both the Cache storm and Brooklyn storm have both died out for rotation, so that's really good news. Those did not survive long at all. If it can maintain, yes, that storm in Tulsa could be an issue. But some models want it to die out here in 30 minutes. Others want it to thrive. So it's kind of a 50-50 shot if it can really mature enough to become an issue. Yeah, if it does become an issue, the best chance for that would be between 6 and 7 Eastern. I mean, the storms to its south have been struggling, so obviously there's some type of lack of an ingredient in this area, right in here, that's not allowing storms to maintain all the way from southern Oklahoma all the way up to Tulsa. My best guess is lapse rates, but up towards Tulsa, lapse rates are okay. They're not great, but they should be sufficient. And then down here in southern Oklahoma, they're really good. Huh. You know what? In southeastern Oklahoma, there is some dry air at the 700 millibar. That could be limiting storm development, at least to some extent. But we did just get a severe thunderstorm warning here in Stonewall, Tupelo. So make sure you're indoors, away from doors and windows if you're in that severe thunderstorm warning in southeastern Oklahoma. And they're very much pop-up like that. They're not sustaining. They're going severe, dying out, and then coming back and going severe again, and then dying out. That's what our one in Ardmore, Oklahoma did. Now this one's trying to do the exact same thing. Huh. Well, those two storms don't look half bad, but one huge problem. There's a pretty big problem there. They're clustered, and there's not a lot of lower level wind shear. Let me go to mesoanalysis and see. I want to figure out this exact area because I need to know the environment with these particular storms. All right, that's right here. Okay, shear is a little bit better. As of the newest mesoanalysis, it's up to 159 in this area, so that's not too bad. And they are kind of semi-discrete here. So, according to mesoanalysis, this is not the worst environment. So these two definitely capable of 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and if we can somehow get them to stay discrete, we could have a brief tornado risk here. Yep, it is a 10 significant chance for tornadoes today from the Storm Prediction Center. Show you that right here. And yeah, that's quite up there. That's a level 3 out of 5 in terms of tornado probabilities. So you have a 2%, which is considered a marginal risk. That's a marginal risk for severe weather. Let me show you here. So there's 4 things that the SPC does. They have 4 different things. They have the categorical risk, which is the overall risk for severe weather. And then under that, you have the tornado risk, the wind risk, and the hail risk. So for this particular risk out here in Arkansas and Oklahoma, the reason we have a level 3 out of 5 for severe storms is because of that tornado risk and the wind risk. That wind risk is a 30%, which is equivalent to a 3 out of 5 for damaging winds. So yes, a 10 significant risk. Typically that means a few tornadoes are likely, with 1 or 2 being strong. So 10 significant risk is typically a pretty big deal. That's where you start getting into the bigger days for severe weather. But thankfully, we've just had a bunch of convection. There's been so much convection that everything has grown upscale and very messy. And because of that, these storms haven't been able to take advantage of that very favorable environment that could favor strong to intense tornadoes, but because, well, this stuff's a mess, it's not at the moment. That's why I'm getting a bit more interested in this guy right here. Because that is not as much of a mess right there. That is really catching my eye now, especially on that new scan. You've got some winds going towards our radar and away from our radar. And then you do have a bit of notching in here, definitely indicating that there is indeed some turning happening in this storm, some rotation. So keep a very, very close eye on that. If you are just north of Clarksville, this is not a very populated area. Not very populated at all. Very mountainous terrain up here, but that looks to be very close to capable of producing a tornado. If that rotation ramps up anymore, we could see a warning. Still stuff up towards Tulsa, no velocity signatures with them, so just really a low-end wind threat, and that's it. storm out here near Fort Smith. 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Just make sure you're away from doors and windows. Like I said, this stuff is just a big old mess right now. We could get a brief tornado out of one of these storms here, if they can become a bit more discreet. For instance, like the storm we're seeing right now north of Clarksville. Okay, that rotation did not ramp up at all, at least on radar, so that's really good. But still want to keep an eye on that, just in case, because, like I said, this environment is favorable for tornadoes today, so we've got at least a semi-discrete storm here. And then also going to keep an eye on this storm for producing hail. That's going to go towards probably just barely near or north of Hector in Arkansas. A few more severes now. We're up to, let's see, up to 6 severe thunderstorm warnings. So starting to get up there a little bit more in warnings. Yeah. We'll just keep an eye on these cells in Tulsa. There's not really much to them at the moment. They're still disorganized. Still disorganized. No severe thunderstorms in Texas. I remember we had that 40% chance of a severe thunderstorm watch out here for the DFW area, but we haven't seen any severe warnings, and none of it is really organizing that well. So at this point, I doubt we'll see a severe watch for the Fort Worth and areas pointing west at the moment. Now that could change in, 2 hours or so, but at least right now all those storms are very, very weak. Let me see. The best chance for severe storms in Texas will definitely be just after, probably just after about 8, 9 o'clock. So from about 8 o'clock Central, all the way till about 1 a.m. Central is going to be the best risk for severe storms out in this area. Another severe thunderstorm warning. 70-mile-an-hour winds and 0.88-inch hail. That's going towards Ozark here in northwestern Arkansas. Bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings, but thankfully no tornado warnings right now. I got a little worried about this storm here, but looks like it's weakened a bit. Hopefully we continue to see that. These cells are in a pretty good environment. Yes, Caden. These two are in a pretty good environment. So they are capable of all hazards. But probably that overconvection is still going to be able to limit their overall threat. Now, these storms back towards Fort Smith, they are also in a really good environment. A bit less wind shear than those in Arkansas, but these towards the border of Oklahoma and Arkansas are still in a decent environment. It looks like there's some dry air, little capping inversion towards 700 millibar that might be inhibiting these from really, really exploding. At least according to mesoanalysis, there's a little dry air issue, like right in here. There's a little dry air issue in the 700 millibar, which that could be inhibiting some storms from really exploding. Yeah, these two, again, we're going to watch both of them. But that overconvection is doing us really well right now. Let's go back all the way up to Tulsa. Yeah, still very messy. Very messy. Definitely no organized supercell like the HRRR had previously happening up here. Remember, it was having, let me show you. So this is what the HRRR thought we would be dealing with right now. It thought there would be storms down here and a supercell forming up here. Let me just show you what the radar looks like once again. Very sloppy storm. And it did get these weaker storms correct. But this is definitely no supercell right now. That is for sure. Definitely no supercell north of Tulsa. For now. Like I said, we'll still have to watch that main time frame for that is 6 to 7 o'clock. So only a brief 1 hour window for those to really get going near Tulsa if they can. All right, see you later, Caleb. Thanks for tuning in. Another severe thunderstorm warning for 1 at Chale, 60-mile-an-hour winds out here. This is going to be for just west of Fort Smith, Arkansas. So this is in eastern Oklahoma. This is right along the I-40 corridor near, let's see, no really big names here. No big names in this area. Oh, there's one. Salisal? Something like that. Right along the I-40 corridor. That's where your severe warning just got issued at. I butchered that one, I can already tell you. A lot more severe weather now, Sam. A lot of severe thunderstorms. We were down to just 2, not but 30 minutes ago, and now we're up to like, I don't know, 8 or something? 10. Nope, 8. 2 of them are in Canada. So we're up to 8 severe thunderstorm warnings now. And then we did briefly have an area of rotation with one of these supercells in northwest Arkansas, but it fell apart quickly. So not terrible. A lot more severe weather, but in terms of anything tornadic, we're still very much on the lower end of that. So, Sam, it looks like there's a dry air issue in here at the 700 millibar. There's some dry air, a little bit of a capping inversion. I wonder if that's playing a role in keeping these storms on the weaker side of things. Despite the 5,100 instability that we have at the surface. And then all this stuff, really the only reason why all this stuff is not producing tornadoes is just simply because it's too messy. Like, your lower level wind shear is still on the lower side, but it is sufficient enough to where we could still see a brief tornado or two out of them. It's just there's so much slop. It's so much slop. So we ain't seeing much out of them at all. All right, let's go back over to these storms. We do have a significant severe for 70-mile-an-hour winds. I'll switch on over to this radar. So those yellow ones, the normal yellow polygons you see, those are ordinary severes. But that highlighted one in the middle of your screen there, that's your significant one for 70-mile-an-hour winds. So that's your highest severe thunderstorm warning at the moment. All right, we have a new meso analysis here in about 10-15 minutes, so we'll also look at that. Because the environment may start to be on a downtrend here. We are halfway through our peak tornado threat. I use the word peak very, very, very lightly in this case. That started at about 5 o'clock and lasts till about maybe 7, 8 o'clock. So we're right about that halfway point. And our environment is probably going to start getting worse from here on out. We might have a very subtle increase in wind shear towards sunset, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to really get tornadoes going. I feel like the main threat is going to be hail and especially wind with this stuff. Where is that wind risk? Oh yeah, like right here. There's our 30% wind risk, and we've got severe warnings in a decent chunk of that 30%. Yeah, so I think our greatest threat for the next 3 hours will be focused across this corridor. I think that's where our main threat is going to end up being today, which is across a good chunk of that 30% wind risk that the SPC added. That appears to have been a good call considering how widespread these severe warnings are at the moment. And nothing new over here. Yeah, so our really waiting for mesoanalysis, and then depending on what that says, we'll go from there. But thankfully, this stuff is very messy. The newest HRRR 21Z just now far enough to where I want to pull it up real quick. Not that. All right, here's the 21Z HRRR. So just to show you, it now does indeed show those storms in Oklahoma firing now, and then being, isolated heavy rain, lightning, maybe a quick severe warning. And then by the time we get to about 7:30, it all dies out. And then there is some additional storm convection here with that low pressure towards 10 o'clock Eastern. But with that, our environment is not nearly as favorable. So that would probably just end up being rain. Just ordinary rain. Could have an isolated, brief, severe risk with that, but nothing crazy. And then it still likes the idea of a pretty good damaging wind risk and large hail risk going towards 7 to 10 o'clock later today across Arkansas and Oklahoma. But really doesn't show a solid tornado threat here. Yeah, I really don't think many of these storms, if any, would be that capable of producing tornadoes. We could. There's definitely a risk for another brief. I say another. My bad. There's still a risk for a brief tornado or two. Probably also with this stuff too up in northeastern Oklahoma. So for those up there in northeast Oklahoma, I mean, still want to keep an eye on that stuff just in case towards 9 o'clock central. But that main brief tornado risk would be focused with these cells in here. These would likely end up being mainly hailers and damaging winds. Yeah, but you could see those storms in far northeast Oklahoma. If they do anything, it's going to be a very brief period where they may be able to produce 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and a brief tornado. Nothing that's nothing like what the SPC was originally forecasting there. I just wouldn't rule out a brief tornado up there still. Even though your storms are now past you. At least the main storms. Main storms are past northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas. All right, now we wait for the 22Z update here from Mesoanalysis. That typically comes 10-15 minutes after the top of every hour, so closer to 2010, 2015Z. Or 2210, 2215Z. 15, like I said, 10-15 minutes at the top of every hour. Oh, that's significant for hail, so they did continue that severe thunderstorm warning for Hector. Now inside a significant severe for 1.75-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. And I think that's what we're going to see the most of today. I think a lot of these storms for the rest of the severe threat is going to be 60 to 70 mile an hour winds and 1 to 2 inch hail. We may have the occasional 75, 80 mile an hour wind gust and the occasional 2.5 inch hailstone. But really, the main threat looks to be 60, 70 mile an hour winds, 1 to 2 inch hail. And then I still, of course, do think we could see a brief tornado. But honestly, I'm about ready to write this thing off. I'm about ready to get that Sharpie out and put underperforming risk, because this is very much linear mess. I don't think we got a strong tornado threat anymore. If we do have a strong tornado threat, it's very low. Very, very low. So still want to stay weather aware. Like I said, we're going to take a look at this meso analysis here. But overall, about ready to write this one off. I'm telling you, whatever these risks, these 5% days, they look like they're going to be a big day. You get to day of, and it's either a over convection mess, or the SPC is upgraded to a 10 sig Tor and then it underperforms. But like, we're done. We're almost done with our 10 sig Tor. We really are. Like, we seriously are pretty much done with our 10 sig tornado risk right now. I mean, we've got the tiniest little sliver left of it right in here, and that's still going to take another hour to get through because these storms are pretty slow moving. Hence the pretty large flood risk here. But like, these storms up in Tulsa, I just don't see them doing anything right now. Like I said, I wouldn't rule out isolated 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gust, 1 inch hail, half inch to 1 inch hail, and then a spin up tornado. I wouldn't rule that out with these storms as they move northeast over the next 2-3 hours, but not a big concern. Not a big concern. It's just worth keeping an eye on. If you are out in this area, it's worth keeping an eye on these storms because the environment it's not terrible, but it's not great. Yeah, there's their instabilities now decreasing already, so we've already passed the peak time frame for severe weather. And yeah, I think this is our culprit here for the lack of any good, notable severe storms here in southern Oklahoma and even into our main risk. I think our culprit is this guy right here. A little warm nose and dry air at about the 600 to 700 millibar height there. Because, like, your hodograph, that's favorable. I mean, it's not, like, crazy, but that's favorable for tornadoes. And they're right on the boundary, too, so... Yeah, that wind shear it's barely hanging on. But I'm going to say, I think the main issue, number one issue today was over convection. And then a very close second and third would definitely be dry air at the 700 millibar and weaker 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. But I also want to make clear here with this too. We're going to continue with these severe thunderstorm warnings. We're going to continue to see, like I said, 60, 70 mile an hour wind gust, 1 to 2 inch hail. I could even get the isolated 2.5 inch hailstone or 80 mile an hour wind gust. That's going to definitely continue to be a big threat for the rest of the risk area here for the next 3-4 hours until those storms weaken, probably close to 10, 11 o'clock Central Time. And still want to watch this stuff for 50 to 60 mile an hour winds being possible, half inch to inch in diameter hail. And a brief tornado is still possible with those storms up in Tulsa moving northeast. And I wouldn't rule out a tornado or two out here in northwest Arkansas. Still wouldn't completely rule out a strong tornado because it's like I said, it's not a horrible environment. It's just the fact we ain't got a really mature, good, discrete storm going here. And I mean, even these more embedded semi-discrete storms, they're not even doing much. Like, you'd think that with a 10 sig Tor that we have in the environment that we just looked at, that would be rotating by now, but not Tor possible, just downgraded to severe, and velocity is very, very weak on that, so. Yeah, also going to keep an eye on this little signature here, north of Roland, north of I-40 in eastern Oklahoma. Hello, Legacy. Glad to see you in here. Our risk is severe underperformance at the moment. All right. Yes, just not a lot of not a lot of tornado ingredients here. We actually had a funnel in Ardmore, Oklahoma. That storm that went through that was severe. It actually had a funnel cloud. Yeah, this one right here. This one actually had a funnel cloud about 40 or so minutes ago at this point. So, yeah, I mean, I would end now, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. We're going to go longer here just to make sure this stuff's not going to pop off very quickly. Plus, there's plenty of severes to still keep an eye on. I want to keep an eye on this storm here. So we're going to go longer because I did say a 3+ hour live stream. Thankfully, it's not the live stream I was expecting today. I do know I'm going to be busy. I know I'm going to be busy, very busy. Saturday, Sunday. I know that for a full-on fact. And I don't think it's going to be worth coverage tomorrow, so I am probably going to make a video. Oh, I know, shocker. Probably going to make a video on Thursday. Likely just going to skip tomorrow and do a bunch of stuff that I've gotten behind on. So tomorrow I'll just do a bunch of stuff that I need to get done, and then Thursday I'll have a video out, and Friday I might have something, but I don't know. Friday, Saturday, Sunday I'm busy, especially Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, I'll definitely have a video though Thursday. Thursday. Yeah, I'll definitely have a video Thursday because I want to talk about the tropics with y'all, and we should know a bit more in 36 hours or so. Did you see the photo I sent in Discord yesterday? Yep. Now I did. Hey, that's some cool looking scud right there. It does look like a bit of a funnel, but that's just scary looking clouds. That's the stuff you see all the time in North Carolina and Virginia. Although not often do they look that cool. Pretty cool catch right there, Legacy. I would be happy if I saw that on a storm chase. Okay, they did actually go for Tor Possible tag on this storm in Fairfield Bay. I've been watching it for a while. There's this booking vortex or booking vortex. Booking vortex that has started. If I just loop this for you real quick. Watch the northern side of that. Right in here. I kind of need a bigger loop. Even longer than that, maybe? GR2? Would you be so kind? Thank you. Sweet. This is almost far enough. There you go. So see how this is like a bow echo? And then watch that northern side. Watch how it starts to wrap around. You see how it's wrapping around right there? And then now it's really wrapped around. And that's evidence of a little bit of a booking vortex trying to form there. That's when your winds go like this. And then it creates an inflow notch behind the bow echo. So you got your damaging winds 60 miles an hour, maybe half-inch hail there. And then you've got some winds that come up and over and around. And that creates a little inflow notch behind that bow echo. And right now that's not too present. There's just a little bit of red and green there, not enough to warrant a tornado warning, but because it's because of how that structure is, they've decided to opt for a Tor possible severe just in case. So if you are out there, Fairfield Bay, just make sure you're away from doors and windows and stay close to your safe spot. That's Fairfield Bay, Arkansas. And then same thing that I've been saying down here. They're just struggling probably because of that dry air. They're getting mature and then just falling apart. Like, look at that. One near Tupelo in south central Oklahoma really got going and then just fell apart. Just died out. And then this stuff up here in Tulsa, it looks like it's going to stay on the lower side of things. Still wouldn't rule out 50, 60 mile an hour wind gust, half-inch to an inch in diameter hail. And again, because it's not a bad environment, it's not great, but it's not bad, don't fully rule out a brief spin-up tornado as this moves into far northeastern Oklahoma over the next 2 hours or so. But likely that's going to be on the lower side of things in terms of hazards. Yeah, this stuff not doing too good near Fort Smith. I'm still watching this, though, just... it's got some curvature to it. Whenever I see a storm that has some curvature to it on an environment like today, it catches my interest. Because you easily can see some southerly winds start to pull that hook echo or that notch a little bit back, and then that can create an area of rotation. And you can see we have a bit of a convergence signal there with the green and the red, so... watching that, but it's not clear enough to the point where I think it's tornadic. And then, yeah, you could see this outflow boundary still pushing south here. So again, all these storms are likely going to be fully outflow dominant, mainly 60 mile an hour winds, 1-inch hail being the primary hazard. These two storms still going to watch for that brief tornado risk, as well as, like I said, that storm near Fort Smith, still watching that little signal right there. Oh, they did put a big special weather statement on this, 40 mile an hour winds, and penny-sized hail on that. That includes Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just be away from doors and windows. Don't go outside. You'll be fine. Pretty weak storm. Let's see here. Welcome to the stream, Void. Yep, I'm doing good. I missed covering events like this. These the last 3 hours have flown by very, very quick. I was really wanting to do a longer live stream for y'all. Because normally with my briefings, I'm like flying through it. I feel so fast-paced. I'm not able to just slow down and look at chat and talk to you guys. And I've been able to do that for the last 2-3 hours here. Especially since it hasn't been that tornadic. Hasn't been that bad of a tornado threat yet. Yep, it's almost October. It is almost October. Our peak of hurricane season is here. I was talking about a backloaded hurricane season, and we've got a category 4, 90% AOI, and then a 60% AOI that's really wanting to aim towards the US. So southeastern US needs to be watching that AOI, including myself here in Virginia / North Carolina. No, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say something, but I ain't going to say it because, I'll talk to you guys another day about it. Maybe I'll mention it Saturday night or Sunday if we end up doing a stream or a community post. But like I said, I don't know. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't know if I'm going to be available at all. So I'm planning to do a video Thursday, and then after that, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't know. maybe even Monday too. Very busy weekend. Very busy weekend. I'm typically busy the last week of September because either we're going on vacation or something's happening. Sadly not going on vacation. I wish that was the case. What? Netflix documentary about Katrina? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I might have to buy Netflix. I typically only buy like a month of that every year. That's what I do with my streaming services. I know it's weird, but that's typically what I do. I typically wait like a couple months and then buy 1 month. I don't pay year round for them. Yeah, still gonna watch these two storms. I mean, just keeping an eye on it. I don't think anything is imminently tornadic here. You see that book in Vortex really fell apart there. They took off the Possible tag. But like these little notches we want to keep an eye on just in case. Thankfully, we are leaving that more favorable environment. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. We're only 14 likes away from today's 100 like goal. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Share the stream with your family, friends, social media. It's really appreciated. And if you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. I try to cover severe weather as often as possible. Yeah, we'll also be covering, of course, some snow storms this winter season too, just like we did last year. Now, they're probably not going to be that long. Typically, I can't do more than a 3-hour live stream talking about some white fluffy stuff, so. But severe weather, I can cover like upwards of 15, 16 hours sometimes, depending on the threat. I'm not ready for winter. I am not. I'm becoming a winter hater. I hate to say it, but I am. I'm becoming a winter hater. I really am. The older I get, the more I'm starting to not like it. Now, this storm's looking pretty good right now. It really is. We definitely want to keep an eye on that. It's hard to tell you what's happening exactly, but looks like a pretty good supercell shape to me, and it looks like it's getting a good inflow notch, so we'll see if those velocities can ramp up at all. Now, this is going to be the test of if we got a good environment. If this thing don't do anything, today's fried. Like, it ain't cooked. It is beyond cooked. It is past cooked. It's burnt. That's what it is. Today is burnt if this supercell doesn't do anything, because you've got a pretty good embedded hook echo in here, and it looks somewhat kind of in between, partially embedded, partially semi-discrete. So like back here, it's very much embedded in this portion, but then in front, it looks more semi-discrete here. I mean, I like cooler weather, but literally rockets, this is how it is in southern Virginia during the winter. From late December through late February, it is cold, miserable, freezing rain, not like the ice freezing rain, just cold rain, miserable, depressing days where you're at temperatures of 40 to 50 Fahrenheit all day. It's tough to breathe outside when it gets below like 35, which is very frequently, very often, especially in January and February. It never lines up to where it snows, so you're always dealing with this bitter cold, annoying cold that ends up with this messy, dreary rain, and it's just overall horrible. And you can't go outside because it's either freezing cold and it hurts to breathe, or it's raining. It's never good. And then you go through probably one of the best times of the year. March, May, April. Great. It's great. March, April, May. Absolutely great. And then you start getting a bit hotter. Late May gets pretty hot. June, hot. July, my goodness, hot. August, still boiling. September, finally starting to cool off. October, really nice. November, really nice. December, you're transitioning from your nice weather back to your bad weather of cold. So it goes freezing cold, really nice. Boiling hot, really nice. Freezing cold. There you go. That's how the year goes. And winter is just the worst because, well, not only do you have pretty much no weather to track other than some white fluffy stuff, which, let's be honest, it's pretty difficult to look at white fluffy stuff for 12 hours. So you really don't want to cover that or talk much about it. And then it starts to get annoying, especially once you get towards late January. It's like, dude, I'm done. I'm done. Give me severe weather. I quit. And then at the end of February, you're fully over it. You're completely over it. And then finally, tornadoes start to become possible again. And then you finally have something you can forecast. Also, that's a big problem too. You think tornadoes are hard to forecast, and you have all these caveats with a bunch of overconvection, not enough cape, too much moisture, not enough moisture, dry air in the mid-levels. Snow? You can't forecast snow till it's fallen. That's how it feels with snow. Because I'm sure we've all been under that scenario where they're forecasting snow, you get nothing, or they're forecasting no snow, and then out of nowhere you wake up to 4 or 5 inches of snow on the ground. That's happened to most of us. Very frequently is it the forecasted 6-7 inches of snow, you wake up to an inch or less. Nice legacy. Let's see. Oops, sorry. I got distracted. I got very distracted. I think that's really, really good legacy. I think everyone should be a Skywarn spotter. I think that should be something that's, honestly, I think it should be like mandatory in school. I don't see why it wouldn't be. It takes an hour. And you learn so much about the basics of weather. And then you can help out the National Weather Service, and if you really want to, you can pursue a career in it. It literally just takes an hour. I really just feel like just one, overall it could be like a 2-3 hour class overall, but it literally, it's going to take one school day. Do it for like science or something, right? And then so many more people are going to be weather aware because of that. That's something that I think should be added into schools. And then another thing, this is off topic, but something I think should be added too is not to school, but rather to just everyday homes, like smoke detectors, weather radios. Weather radios, typically you're going to find them for 20, maybe 30 bucks at Walmart, Target. They're very easy to use. You just plug it in, put some batteries in it, turn it on, and boom, it's done. It will wake you up in the middle of the night if there's any type of a severe warning or a tornado or severe watch. Keeps you weather aware. So I think those also should be like required in homes too. Just to help people get more weather aware, to help people be more weather aware, require people to be storm spotters, take like literally one school day to take a Skywarn spotter class, learn a bit about the weather because we're all affected by it. It affects everybody's day-to-day life. Why not learn about it? And then install, have weather radios become a necessary thing for homes. Like literally every last one of us, if you live on the planet called Earth, you're affected by the weather. I don't care where you live. Why not take one school day to learn about it? What did I miss? Anything in Tulsa? There's some lightning and heavy rain in downtown Tulsa. They have a special weather statement. That's that blue kind of box thing you see on your screen for 40-mile-an-hour winds and pea-sized hail. But overall, it's sloppy, and I don't expect much out of it. Like I said, at worst, 60-mile-an-hour winds, half-inch to an inch in diameter hail, and then maybe a brief tornado. That's like the high-end hazards there. Yeah, I don't think today was a complete bust, but I do think the tornado risk was a full-blown bust. The wind threat's verifying pretty well. I don't know if it's going to verify as the 30% that they added, but I mean, it's verifying pretty well. And the hail risk, 15%. I mean, we got an instance or two of 1 to 1.5 inch hail. We've had a few severes of 1.75 inch hail. Matter of fact, we still have one of those. So I think the hail threat is performing okay. I think the wind threat is performing pretty well. Maybe not to that enhanced risk standard. And the tornado threat is a bust. Like I said, the tornado threat, it's at this point, it is beyond cooked. It is burnt. The tornado threat is burnt to a crisp. It is done. Won't fully rule out the brief tornado somewhere today, but it is burnt. I think the wind threat's performing, like I said, wind and hail threat, I think they're performing all right. But tornado threat is nothing short of a complete burnt burnt event. It is done. So still stay weather aware. What I'm trying to say here is, the tornado threat's not high. We could see a brief tornado, but you still want to be weather aware because we're still seeing that widespread 60 to 70-mile-an-hour winds and 1 to 2 inch hail threat. So it's still going to be impactful, still going to interrupt your day-to-day life here if you're out and about across these severe warnings. But it's not a big severe day like we were originally anticipating. Matter of fact, here is a new MCD from the Storm Prediction Center. Strong to severe thunderstorm development may continue to increase at least in the 8 to 9 o'clock Central, or rather 8 to 9 o'clock Eastern time frame. So severe storms may begin to increase in possibility here going into the next about an hour and a half from now or so. I want to see if they mention much of a tornado threat. Yeah, this one. There you go. Strong to severe storms may continue to develop, posing a risk for severe hail, winds, and may increase through the 7 to 8 o'clock Central time frame across portions of west central Arkansas into southeastern Oklahoma. A tornado or two also appears possible, mainly near and east of the Fort Smith vicinity. So there you go. 60 to 70-mile-an-hour winds, 1 inch hail, and a brief tornado or two, all possible. The strongest lower-level jet is forecasted to shift away from the thunderstorms and actually go to the cool side of our boundary. However, hodographs are still and probably will remain favorable in the focused vicinity near and east of Fort Smith over the next 2 hours or so. AKA, it's cooked. They should have just put the MCD out as that. Event's cooked. But no, seriously, we could still see 60-mile-an-hour winds with some of these storms here. Like, especially this stuff moving into Fort Smith. Those velocities definitely 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts possible there. I still could see some isolated 60 mile an hour wind gust 1-inch hail out of these, but oh man, look at that. Strongest couplet of the day. Ooh, that is a strong couplet. Yeah, it's corruption, y'all. I'm playing with you. Don't worry, it's corruption. It is big time corruption. Let's see here. A little bit of rotation there. Smallest bit. So we'll, just still a few little spots to keep an eye on that could produce a brief tornado in the future. But our main threat is done. So even if there is a couple more tornado warnings tonight, I'm not coming back. I'll keep watching it if it does look like it's getting substantially worse. Like there's multiple tornadoes starting to touch down, even maybe a strong tornado, then I might come back on here. But I'm gonna head off here in a couple minutes. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in the live chat there. Yeah, I do see we have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings here in northern Texas, but those are in far northern Texas and are very close to, if not getting into that severe thunderstorm watch vicinity. So we could see a small expansion of that severe watch, but it doesn't seem like a new one's needed. And then let me go to that mesoscale discussion so you could see it here. Let's see. Yeah, I'll wait for that MCD to load up here. A little supercell trying to get its act together there. However, it's about to be cell merged into a messy cluster, so it's got 2 minutes of tornado possibility. And there ain't no way it's going to ramp up that fast. Also, it looks like there's an outflow boundary surging ahead of the hook, so that's likely not actually an area of rotation, so not worried about it. Let's see. All right, so here's your mesoscale discussion. If you're in that brown area, a little bit difficult to see there, especially if you are in or just east of Fort Smith, this little section right in here. Look, that literally looks like a supercell right there. Look at that. Right there. Right there. That tip of the arrow right there. It looks like a supercell, doesn't it? I think it is. It's just pretty weak in terms of rotation. So the main threat here in that brown area is 1-inch hail, up to 70 mile an hour winds, and a brief tornado or 2 all being possible for the next about 2.5 hours or so. Up till 9 Eastern, 8 Central. That's your main severe threat. There's not an overnight threat, but there is a late day threat. I think much of this stuff will die out probably close to 10, 11 o'clock. Much of it is going to weaken. It's going to be weakening close to that 8, 9 o'clock Eastern time frame. But most of it will be like getting towards sub-severe as we get close to 10, 11 Eastern. Move this back up here real quick. Significant severe there. New significant severe out here for Gwynn in eastern Oklahoma. 1.75-inch hail and 60 mile an hour winds possible for the next 35 minutes or so. If you're in that severe warning, stay away from doors and windows. Stay close to your safe spot just in case that hail gets a bit too large and you might want to go to your safe spot there. But yeah, the main threat for severe weather is really going to be focused east of Fort Smith, like the SPC was saying, with these storms here. Make that a little bit larger. These storms in here. That's going to be your main severe threat. All right, any more questions before I head off here, y'all? Like I said, if things do get out of hand, I'll come back. But if there's just like a tornado or two, or a tornado warning or two, I'm not going to come back on. But I will be monitoring it just in case. We're 10 likes away from our like goal. We might hit that after we end stream. And yeah, I appreciate everyone for being here. Like I said, video on Thursday. No content tomorrow. Unless it's needed for a live stream, but I doubt it. So, yeah, let's see. Well, I wouldn't be shocked if we get a tornado warning right when I head off, Rebel. That's how it goes, dude. That's how it goes. So, like I said, I'll be watching it, but for now, it's just a pretty big, severe threat. Pretty big, severe threat in this area. So just please stay weather aware. 1 to 2 inch hail, 60, 70 mile an hour winds will be possible, and a brief tornado or two. So if you're in that area, that's where you really got to be weather aware at. Like I said, especially if you're around or east of Fort Smith, Arkansas. But all right, that's going to be it for this coverage. Again, I appreciate all y'all for tuning in here. I know it was a little bit, we're ending a bit early. We have quite a few severe warnings, but nothing tornadic, which is the thing that I really cover the most of. So, and there's no destructive severes either, so that's good. But all right, we're gonna head on over to the ending screen. Again, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday and Wednesday. I will see you guys in a video on Thursday, probably around 4-ish Eastern. That video will be uploaded 4-ish Eastern Thursday. And then after Thursday, like I said, between Friday and Monday, I'll try to do a community post just to let you know what I'm doing, because all I know is that I'm going to be busy. I don't exactly know if I'll have a time to fit in a stream or a video. We'll just see about that. Thank you much for my chat. Thank you everyone for being here. Greatly appreciate it. And I hope you guys stay safe. Watch for your weather out there. And also watch the tropics. Have a great rest of your Tuesday and your Wednesday. Goodbye. Have a great rest of your Tuesday and have a great Wednesday. Thank you much for my chat.